Hello and welcome everybody to the first ever, the debut qualifying stream for the USA National Team Qualifiers. We are here for the United States Esports Federation for the Global Esports Games in 2024. And my goodness, we have a show for us tonight. We're going to be at a track that was founded fairly recently in the terms of racing. It's founded back in 2012, and some people might already know what track I'm talking about. That's right, it's Circuit of the Americas, COTA, the absolute classic for America. 3.4 miles, 5.5 kilometers, and 20 corners. 11 to the left, 9 to the right, with 40 meters of elevation, about 133 feet, and all of that pretty much happening into the first corner. Some call it the runway to the sky. We'll certainly see that tonight. It's going to be elbows out action. But by the end of tonight, you might be wondering, why are we here? Well, let me answer that to you. Tonight, we are going to be crowning 2 members, 1 male, 1 female, to become a member of the USA Esports team, the Global Esports Games for 2024. They will be qualifying for that this December. The location to be determined, but certainly is going to be exciting. And you can see right there, the big red, the first corner of COTA, where the infamous action tends to always take place. I'm your host tonight, Mike Noss, and we are going to be in it for a long one. We got qualifying. We have 2 races ahead of us here tonight, as well as 2 qualifyings for these drivers to battle it out. And it's going to be a little bit different of a race as well for most people that are interested. For us off, we are going to be on the platform Assetto Corsa Competizione. That is where we are going to be racing ACC, as it's often called. And it's the factory game for SRO. Of course, they are going to be running that here for their qualifiers. And on that, we have our qualifiers tonight. We are going to be seeing who's going to make it again for both the male team and the female team. And we have a load of drivers all battling it out in the same exact machinery. Every driver taking to the track in the Ford Mustang GT3, the 5.4 liter Coyote engine, naturally aspirated, rocking about 500 plus horsepower and anywhere weighing between somewhere around 2,700 pounds. And about a boatload of torque as well. These cars are an absolute handful. They're a rocket ship in a straight line. And my goodness, are they exciting to watch. And we are going to be out there for the American liveries as well. So many American cars. I love it. Team USA qualifying, of course, here as an American commentator. Not biased whatsoever for America, but I'm loving it. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And of course, this is again for the United States Esports Federation, powered along with Init Esports. And we're going to be seeing this soon enough, as we do have a little bit of a build up before we get into the actual meat and potatoes here tonight, the action. And if we do, of course, have any questions, we are going to be live over on Twitch and, of course, on TV. And any questions I'm happy to ask, as I'm assuming we're going to have some newer people to motorsports joining us. And that's what we're here for. We want to see everybody out here getting involved with what is a bit of my passion, something that I want to share with everybody and we all want to share with these sim racers out there tonight. And, of course, these drivers have been putting their hearts into this. Talking with all of them, we can see a lot of the interviews that we've had for them, and they are excited. Pretty much every single driver wants nothing more but to represent their country for the esports games coming up this year. Again, so exciting. This is a massive, massive step in the sim racing side of everything, to be completely honest, and it is going to be an absolute treat, and I'm so excited to be a part of the action. I can barely talk. But on that, of course, again, we are going to be explaining the formats of the races here tonight. We have a 30-minute race, 2 30-minute races with a bit of qualifying in between. That's about it. It's honestly a pretty short, simple, and sweet format. In between the 2 races, we're going to have a nice interview session, getting to know more about the USEF.GG platform, along maybe with a little bit of Init as well. So there's a lot ahead of us here tonight. And again, buckle in. This is the debut stream for us, and we are absolutely loving it. While we do wait, though, again, anybody that is joining us in chat, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask. I am more than happy to answer them again, as this is a little bit of a different experience. I keep mentioning And of course, we are going to be jumping in relatively soon. We have a lot of Ford Mustang GT3s, I mentioned. Some of the drivers that are out there on track, and let me see if anybody maybe recognizes some of these names. There are quite a few of some names that even I recognize. We have William Hendrickson out there. We have Zach Doran. We have Michael Mooning. We have the likes of Cameron Martineau, and I do apologize on any mispronunciations in advance. We have Ricardo Rivera as well. We have Ryan Haddock. We have Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. We have Kyle Lowe. We also have Emma Galasso. Apologies, Emma, for the mispronunciation, as of course there was just on the Init channel, did a recent stream with her. I didn't, but I got to watch the stream, the interview with her, and she is excited, ready to go for this championship. I cannot wait to see how she does. We also have Garrett Adams in there, or Garnet Adams in P10 right now for the Ford Mustang, the number 22, Harrison Santiago. We have Ronnie Penhall. We also have Benjamin Jones and Matthew Hinkle. And we can also take a look at a lap that I think was set. As we will pop over, no, hot drivers. We have hot drivers. My apologies, I misunderstood. And there we can see, there are some of the quotes. This is Ruby Acosta. You can see her quote on screen that she had. She is somewhat nervous for the finals, but she knows that as long as she does her best and is satisfied, she can overcome the results. And I was also reading a little bit more on that. She seems confident. Ruby Acosta seems to be a very, very confident entity coming into this tournament, and I certainly would be on the lookout for Ruby. And of course, also mentioning, I think, Emma on top of that. She is more on the humble side of things, I would say, which is maybe going to be, we'll see how, or again, I won't say we'll see how she does, but this is, of course, this is going to be William Hendrickson, as we have a little bit of a different order. This is for the male side of things. This is the driver behind me is fast. I know this, but so far it looks like I am ahead, and hopefully it stays that way. Now that is the quote of a century, to be completely honest. And William Hendrickson, well, is he going to put his money where his mouth is? We'll find out. That is for sure. It's going to be down to him to decide if he is on the top or not. And again, you can see at the bottom of our screen all of the partners involved here, of course, Init Esports as well. And we have CODA, the track that we're going to be racing on, SRO America partnering with as well as the Global Esports Federation. And of course, we are racing here on Assetto Corsa Competizione for the USA Team National Qualifiers for the United States Esports Federation. Amazing. Again, so exciting to say that. The fact that we're even discussing this is something that's incredible to me. For somebody who's been in sim racing for multiple, 4+ years at this point, seeing this potentially being discussed to go to the Olympics, the official Olympics, and have something like that be represented for a passion that I've had for such a long time, I'm so excited to be a part of this, and a big thank you to everyone behind the scenes. We got Steve Proudly on production, as well as we're going to be joined by multiple people later, Steffi Bow, as well as Ainsley. I should have, Partosa, I think, is so sorry, Ainsley. But as we go and get ready, the session is building, and building. Before we get down to the real, again, meat and potatoes, these drivers battling it out for 30 minutes on track. We do need to see their qualifying, though, first. And they are currently in their driver's briefing, getting briefed on what is to come and what the expectations are in the race for them. Of course, every driver, there are going to be rules out there on track. This is not just straight to the line racing. You can't dive bomb down to the inside. You can't do anything that is going to be more that's, I guess, egregious. That's what we're going to be looking out for in terms of things like that. No late sends, making contact and stuff. So we will have stewards that are going to be reviewing this afterwards, of course, and making decisions justly to make sure that we get the most fair results for the qualifying. We are going to be getting in here relatively soon. We still got a little bit more of a delay, but all in all, welcome everybody. I see we got a lot of people in the chat side of things cheering on Ainsley, as well as we have Ricky Ray. So many people joining us. Welcome everybody. And if you are joining us on TV, thank you. First off, thank you. Welcome. And as well as any VOD watchers in the future, we are making history here tonight, folks. That's something to keep in mind. And I am so excited for this. Again, I just cannot wait. I keep talking and I'm trying to build this up, but I am trying to hold the excitement in myself because I want to see these drivers take to the circuit and battle it out in qualifying. We're going to be seeing that very, very soon. And again, Assetto Corsa Competizione is the platform that we are racing on today, the official game of SRO. It is it's a treat. This, if you haven't played this simulator before, it's a GT centric simulator, meaning that there are no F1 cars, there's no rally cars, there's no drift cars, there's nothing like that. This is a simulator that is built for GT racing, which is exactly what we're going to be doing tonight. It's a perfect simulator for the choices that have been made for this tournament. I have to say, I love ACC. My personal favorite sim out of all of the ones out there. Obviously, there are other sims available, but I have been a part of ACC for a while, and I love it. I love it. It's such a good simulator, and again, represents the physics of GT racing down to a perfection. It is one of the significantly more realistic games graphically as well. When you hover over it and do the thumbnails and you try to look at an SRO video and you say, am I watching a real life video or am I watching some sim racing here? You can't tell with ACC, and that's one thing that just makes it so amazing. But it doesn't, of course, have all of the risks that real life racing does attribute towards it. It's a little bit safer. There's still, obviously, with direct drive wheels nowadays that people are rocking, about 15 plus Newton meters of torque. Your wrist can certainly become a bit of an issue. But as it sounds, and I'm getting the ringing in my ear, chat, I think it's time. Let's go down to the circuit. And there we can hear the roar of the 5.4 liter Coyote-based engine for this Ford Mustang GT3, and a roar is an understatement. If we pop on board with one of these cars, these are a melody to the ears when you hear it. There we can see, this is Michael Mooning. Just wanted to give a little sound blip there for you. As it gets on the throttle. Oh, it's such a nice sound for that GT. Going, though, down towards the back little stretch here, and this is one of the issue corners that these drivers are going to be facing in qualifying. You can see on the outside there, it's very easy to run wide and extend track limits. And turn 11, this is going to be a very good setup opportunity if you're looking to make an overtake down into 12. You can see it's a long run, flat out. This back straight is about 0.73 miles long, 1.1 kilometers, all the way down to the braking zone. A very 90-degree left-hander, tight as ever, where if you get back onto the throttle into the 13-14 complex, where you're just trying to get the car to grip up the front end, rarely will comply with the back, but it's just about trying to get that perfect melody before you get into the left-hander there of 15 and loop back around towards the horseshoe corner. This is a triple apex corner, and we'll hop on board with another car in a future lap to give you an idea what that means. But as he goes on through now, down towards the final few corners, there was a very nice turn 16, 17, and 18 complex into 19 for the penultimate corner, and now 20 to round onto the start-finish straight, where we will have our first lap of the night. We're going to hop on board as well with William Hendrickson and see what he has in store for us. In fact, that was everybody's out lap. My apologies. We are now going to be seeing the first laps of the night. William Hendrickson heads to the line here to begin his first lap, and you can see that hill. It looks a lot less steep than it actually is. It is 133 feet that we have just tackled in the blink of an eye. 13 stories, in case you were curious. Immediately, they're trying to straighten the car out now to head into the S's. This is what really can make or break your lap time. As you can see, just the struggle. You tilt the car in there for the left-hander, immediately seesawing at the wheel to get it back to the left, and I can't even finish talking before you get back to the other right-handers. And then this is one of the more difficult ones, as you can run wide here. You set yourself up for the exit now through turn 9 and down towards turn 10. Very tricky complex, but I do have to say that was a very great line for the Ford Performance William Henderson. Now accelerating down towards turn 11 out of 10, getting onto the brakes nice and late, trying to clip that inside sausage curve, but you don't want to clip it too much. You just want to almost kiss the curve on the exit to straighten that car up now for the straight. And again, this is where you're going to be making the overtakes happen. You get about a mile, a little under a mile of slipstream if you are behind someone. You can tuck to the inside there. We've seen it from Carlos Sainz. If you do watch Formula One, they made a move there last year, a brilliant move. I think it was on Hamilton. but we'll see if there's going to be any repeats of that this time. William Hendrickson, though, now into the double apex corner here. You can see as you go through, you have to kind of go deep, miss the second part of the corner, and attack the next. And this is where things start to get very tricky. You blink and you miss a corner, really. So we straighten the car out here, getting onto the accelerator for the triple right-hander. So this is the triple apex. You see one apex. You miss the second. You kiss the second one there. And then there's the third apex that you hit. So a little bit of a miss-hit-miss sort of complex. These drivers have to just absolutely wring the car's neck to get any form of pace out of William Hendrickson here. Currently, time to beat 2:04.9 set by Michael Mooning. Is this going to be enough? As we head now to the line, it's going to be enough for P3. 4.5 tenths off the back of off the back of pole position. Zach Doran, 2.4 tenths off of pole himself. But there's still more laps to be set. There we see Ruby Acosta setting pole position for the female category and taking the time charts with Emma Galasso behind. Not much of a margin. There we see Lowe separating the two of them. And everybody rolling their times in. Not too many invalidations as of yet. That is crucial for these drivers to have a clean out lap, get a clean first banker lap in, because track limits is very easy to extend at COTA. It's a tricky track at the best of times, and when the pressure is on for these drivers, keep in mind, this is not just your average qualifying session. These drivers are trying to qualify to be a part of the United States esports team. This is a lot on their shoulders right now, so this is one of the most important laps that some of these drivers have ever set. And they are going to be taking that with absolute volition. Michael Mooning topping the time charts right now. In fact, he's actually gaining a lot on this lap as well. He left a good bit of margin down for the rest of his laps. Again, the banker, which is, for anyone that's curious what I mean by a banker lap, that's basically just you want to set a lap less than 100%. So you have a typical way that you drive your car, which is at 100%. And if you drive over that at 110%, yes, you might go faster, but you're going to have an increased chance of messing up. And you might say, well, Mike, how do you drive at 110%? Trust me, we'll see that tonight. You'll just have to take my word for it. If you are unfamiliar, drivers get a little antsy. They get on the throttle a little earlier than they normally can, and that typically ends up with a pirouette round. And I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two of those out there tonight. I certainly hope not. I hope to see a very clean race down to the end. But again, it's COTA. Anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. And oh my goodness, every time we hop on board with these Ford Mustangs, just listen to that big old V8 in the front. Michael Mooning picking up the throttle. He has a very, very commanding pole position right now. 5 tenths separating. It was about 2.5 tenths before. But that is a very comfortable margin. Now, a half a second doesn't sound like a lot to some people, but I assure you, in sim racing, a half a second is a very large margin. A lot of the times, especially in these levels of racing, when you get to the esports level, you typically see down to the tens of thousands, the 0.01s, the 0.001s, the hundreds of thousands of seconds. It can get very close, and I would not be surprised if we see that. Currently, the closest two drivers are going to be really Galasso and Adams, I'm so sorry, Emma. Galasso and Adams in P9 and 10. They are roughly a couple tenths off of each other. Just about the blink of an eye, in fact, in case anyone was curious. This is one of my more fun facts that I love to spread amongst everybody. The blink of an eye is about 2.5 milliseconds. That's 0.2 of a second. It sounds like a long time, and it kind of is, to be honest. But now, what can happen in the blink of an eye, you might ask? I'm really glad you asked as well. In case you were curious, an amethyst Woodstar hummingbird can beat its wings roughly 20 times in that phase. Now, that's not quite that relevant information to what we have out here tonight, but you now know that. Regardless, we're looking at Ryan Haddock, the USEF #1 car. He is currently sitting down there in 8th position, looking to improve as we jump now on board with Garnet Adams. And the Garnet Adams Racing #22, a little bit out of shape there through the mid-sector. I think that was a bit too much throttle usage. Also, Michael Mooning has parked it into pit lane. There's still a little bit more time in qualifying. He has time to come back out and set another lap if he would like. Also, Ricardo Rivera jumping up into 3rd position. I missed that. 2:05.3. For Ricardo, pole position though still a 2:04.3. So Ricardo has about a second to cut off right now, and that is going to be Cameron jumping into third position in the Samantha Tan Racing Esports. Lovely lap. And this is Zach Doran in the Visceral Esports machine, the Ford Mustang GT3. Looking to potentially rally in a pole position. It will not be on this lap as he did invalidate. This is a track that, again, invalidations are not uncommon. And once we hit the race, it's a 30-minute race when we get down to it. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple drive-through penalties. And you might ask, again, why? Why would we see some drive-through penalties? And the reason is, with ACC in particular, the way that we deal with off-tracks in this simulator is if you go off-track and you gain an advantage, you will get one warning added to your name. Now, what that warning will do is nothing, to be honest, but if you accumulate 4 of those warnings, you will be receiving a drive-through penalty. That's an in-game penalty brought to you by the in-game stewards. There's no fighting that, unfortunately, and COTA in particular is a brutal track when it comes to the limits, and a drive-through penalty at COTA, this isn't going to be the worst track in the world to have one, but it's certainly not going to be helping you if you do want to qualify for the United States Esports Federation. Definitely would recommend staying away from the drive-through penalty, but it only costs you about 25 seconds to make a run down pit lane for a drive-through. So not going to be the end of the world, but it certainly will be the end of a competitive race for any drivers up at the front. And again, still looking at these front drivers, just trying to see if anyone is improving. I think we're starting to get to this phase in qualifying where we're not seeing many improvements, and that's not because these drivers aren't improving, it's because they are pushing a little bit harder than I mentioned before. They're going 101%, 102%, and they're invalidating. They're driving over the track limits, which means that when they reach the checkered flag, that lap will not count. If you go over the track limits, you cross the line, you will not be allowed to have that lap recorded as a valid lap. You will have to be between the mayo and the mustard the entire time. And whoa, my goodness, Benjamin Jones, well, he managed to keep it between the mayo and the mustard, but it's certainly not the line that you're looking for there on the exit of the S's. And though continues his... Oh, okay, he doesn't continue his lap because that is a textbook example of an invalidation. Goes deep. Any driver that's trying to prove right now, Emma Galliso is currently up about 2.5 tenths on her lap. A brilliant livery as well that she brought to the table. Kind of a... Is that a stag? What is that? I'm not sure what that was. I love it, though. It's a cow. Oh, that's great. It's a very American livery, if you ask me. But Emma Galliso trying to qualify here. Oh, goodness. Manages to keep that one on track. That was not quite the line you're looking for, but keeps it valid, and that's what matters. Needs to find, though, about 2 seconds, give or take, to find the position over Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. She is currently rocking in 6th position overall, first in category. See Emma here rounding the final corner. Is this going to be enough? I'm not sure it is. Emma Galliso comes to the line. It will be a slight improvement. No, it's about dead even as the previous lap. But she will have a good 2 more attempts to make a valid attempt here. Nice and tidy through the first corner. So far, so good. We're looking up. Now down towards the S's. It's a 3/10 improvement already. That is massive. Although I got to say, Emma needs to find that time. And we're jumped down now with Ryan Haddock, currently sitting in 8th position. 2.8 seconds off of pole. Ryan, though, 2/10 up on a lap, has a slipstream. That will help out. So what is that, you might ask? Well, the car in front, you can see that big old Ford Mustang GT3 that we're currently looking at of Ryan Haddock. He has a car in front of him, and that is Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. What she is doing for him is punching a big old hole in the air, allowing Ryan Haddock to get a little bit less drag on the front end of that Ford, meaning that he can go just a couple kilometers an hour quicker in a straight line, meaning that he's going to gain a little extra time. And in fact, he did. Ryan Haddock, 4/10 up right now. Ruby Elizabeth did end up invalidating, unfortunately. Will have one more shot, though, to make a valid lap, but she's looking good for pole position for the time being. As this is Ryan Haddock into the penultimate corner. Very tidy. very within the limit as well. This is the final corner now, misses the apex just slightly there. The back end sliding out as the front end doesn't quite comply. It doesn't matter though, I think it's still gonna be enough. Ryan Haddock, he comes to the line. It's still gonna be P8. He lost it all in Sector 3. Absolutely gutting. Now jumping on board though with Emma Galliso. She's in Sector 3, heading down towards the penultimate corner, just gone through the triple apex of the horseshoe, and has 2 more corners to find if she can maybe set a new time alight here. Comes through the final corner. It's looking good so far. Is it gonna be enough though? Let's find out. Emma Galliso to the line, does find a position, up into 10th, overtakes Matthew Hinkle. And that's going to be the end of qualifying. Emma would have had one more lap if she wanted it, but I think she just ended up using all of the tires at her option there and decides enough's enough. I'm not going to be improving. Returns back to the garage. This is Zach Doran. He is on no improvement right now for the Visceral team and will be starting his final lap, trying to defend or trying to dethrone Michael Mooning, currently improving on his lap as well. Back to Ryan Haddock though. He's about halfway through his lap right now. Accelerating long down that straight and getting to the braking zone before you get into the very technical sector of Sector 3. The checkered flag has fallen. Any driver that was previously on a lap will be allowed to complete their lap, but any driver that has not started one yet will not be allowed to do so. They will have to take the time that they were given and be happy with it. Ryan Haddock there. Very nice apex. You can see you missed the first apex there through turn 13 and into 14. You just clobber the curb. These Ford Mustangs, they can take quite a bit of curb usage. And now through the triple right-hander, the horseshoe corner, and then into the final few corners, the penultimate corner, followed up by turn 20. Unfortunately, not too many original names for corners here. It's a track that's founded back in 2012. We got to come up with some names ourselves. Obviously, we have Big Red. We got the horseshoe. But other than that, not too much. Ryan Haddock, though, P8. That's all he's got. I was expecting a little bit more, honestly. The improvement. Sector 3 really seemed to be getting the best there of Ryan. Zach Doran, though, what does he have? He's got a little bit of traffic, unfortunately, in front of him. And that is going to be Benjamin Jones, who is on a flyer right now, but going a little bit slower than their previous. In fact, has not set a lap yet. Oh, and that's Benjamin Jones, unfortunately not getting a valid lap down. Zach Doran says, thank you very much, though, and is able to get by. But is that going to be too much? Did he get held up more than enough at this point? I think he did. He needs to find about a 10.5 to gain a position over William Hendrickson. But Zach Doran, 2 more corners left to go. That's going to be quite a tough ask. And now through the final corner, it is going to be 3rd position for Zach Doran. Podium finish there, not a terrible result. Definitely nothing to shake a stick at whatsoever. But all in all, very solid qualifying. Michael Mooning takes the top of the time charts with a 2:04.2. Lovely lap. William Hendrickson not able to answer, 2:04.7. 4/10 off the mark. And great point is Michael was also in the VCO LFM Infinity today. Yes, oh man. So he is, Michael's driving quite a bit, but he's warmed up. That's one of the advantages, obviously, is he is going to be freshly warm behind the wheel. Now the question is, did he practice the Ford Mustang GT3? I'm going to assume so. You can see there, these are the grid starting positions. On pole position, it is going to be Michael Mooning alongside William Hendrickson with Zach Doran in 3rd. Then obviously moving on to the other category, we have Elizabeth Ruby Acosta on pole position. I think I'm missing one as I am just double checking, but we do have about a 2-minute rundown here, but we're 2-minute session start. The drivers have a little bit of time to get warm, and we can see some of the brilliant liveries there on the right-hand side. That's Michael Mooning's the Samantha Tan livery. That's a real-life one. On the left side, we can see William Hendrickson, then the Visceral Esports machine there in the number 15 with the sister Samantha Tan Ford Mustang GT3 as well. Yeah, I absolutely love that livery. On top of that, we see a little bit more of the in-game liveries there, the number 14 as well as the 40, representing just the basic Ford Mustangs. And beyond that, and oh, my apologies as well, as Garnet Adams is actually going to be running in second positions. My apologies. The number 9 as well. Look at that livery. Oh my goodness. Murica Central for the number 9. We're going to have to get a closer look at that one at some point. The number 22 bringing a nice show as well. That's Emma Galliso right there. You can see in the 55 with the I don't know what to call it livery, but it's brilliant. More American liveries as the number 7 there, representing the Ford Mustang GT3. And again, it's a jam-packed grid full of these 5.4-liter Ford GT3s. The newest car, by the way, to ACC, in case anyone... Of course, after they added the Nordschleife, they added the good old American V8, the Ford Mustang GT3. Great addition as well. It's been doing really well in both real life and in sim racing terms. This car is a rocket ship in a straight line. It has amazing brakes, and look at that. It makes me want to start singing the Star Spangled Banner. My goodness, I don't think my production would be too happy with that, though. This is, though, a brilliant livery, and you can see even with the Global Esports Games on the back, that is superb. Chef's kiss, might I add. Either way, 20 seconds before these drivers get into what is going to be maybe one of the most important races of their life. This is going to be potentially a life-changing opportunity for whoever does win this event. They will be becoming a part of the United States Esports Federation qualifying for the Global Esports Games in 2024. What a title. What? Imagine being able to say that. Any one of these drivers certainly has earned it, but only one of them can take it home from each category. The real question is, who's it going to be? I can't answer that, to be completely honest. I don't know. We will find out over the course of 30 minutes. These drivers have one outlap. They will be using this outlap to get heat into their tires, get their brakes up to temp, and mainly get their minds right. You know, this is kind of where the nerves really start to kick in. You know, you start to line up 2 by 2. You get the drivers around you. There's no contact on the outlap, which is always nice. That's very welcome for any of the drivers that are going to be maybe just trying to weave around a bit, get heat into their tires. But one of the most important things that you need to do on your outlaps, as I mentioned, is get heat to your tires and your brakes. But is, you know, I'm not sure, if you go on board with some of pretty much every one of these drivers, you'll see that they're all going to be holding their brakes. And why would they be doing that? It's a great question. The reason is because they're trying to get their brake pads and their calipers and their wheel wells up to temperature, because what that does, your brakes are the hottest part of your tire regardless in terms of what produces the most heat. Your brakes get up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, somewhere around that range, these high carbon ceramic brakes, which that allows to happen is it heats the insides of your tires. It heats the core temperatures, as they call it, of your tires, where if you were just to do some weaving, you see that American liveried machine in the background, he is doing what's called weaving, which is getting heat onto your surface temperature. So if you do a combination of both weaving and holding the brakes, which you can see right there, all of their brake lights lighting up, they're all getting temperature, very crucial temperature. Every degree Celsius matters, and you want to have those in the optimum windows, because in ACC, tire pressure is extremely important, and temperature dictates your pressure, meaning you got to get that right, and that happens before the race. That happens in setup, which these drivers have put hours and hours into their setups, I would imagine, going into this race. And welcome to absolutely everybody that is joining us, be it on Twitch, be it on TV. Again, we're making history here tonight for the United States Esports Federation. This is the debut stream, the debut qualifying race for this championship, and my goodness, I'm sure there is plenty more to come. All of everything, mainly, I suppose, is for the USEF.GG organization. Of course, thank you as well to SRO and everybody involved behind the scenes. Steve Proudly on the cams and everyone joining us later. I'm Mike Noss on comms. And we are now in the calm before the storm. This is where the drivers, again, the nerves really start to rattle them. This is where you kind of get into your head and think, oh my goodness, what if I crash on lap 1? What if I do this? What if I do that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do on lap 1. You only can do what you can do right now. And every bit of preparation is done. This is it. The final corner is being rounded right now. Race 1 of 2 tonight is about to begin. Michael Mooning on pole position with William Hendrickson alongside. Who's going to take it? We got Ruby Acosta on pole position as well. As we approach the line, 2x2 Noah's Ark formation. A long and awaited lull. About 133 meters, or 133 feet ahead of us. And we are green, green, green now, heading down to the first corner. Michael Mooning off to an incredible start. William Hendrickson getting swamped, though, from the inside of Zach Doran. Zach makes a... a lovely send into 4th as well. Ryan Haddock making some moves into 6th. Behind that, though, we see a bit of shaking from Cameron. He managed to drop, unfortunately, number 2, down 6 positions. William Hendrickson down 3. But our biggest gainer here early on lap 1 is actually Harrison down at 11th. He's fighting away himself. But as they go through the S's, it's fairly... trying to put the defense on, making that Camaro as wide as humanly possible. Going down to the braking zone now, he sends it, and it's a send and a half. Ruby Acosta not going to fight that too much. Or is she? She's going to go for the switchback, try to get a better run and a lunge now, potentially on the exit of 11 on the run now down towards 12. It's going to have to be a drag race between the two of them, and we're now tuning in with Matthew Hinkle as well. He has the slipstream himself. Doesn't have the inside as of yet. In fact, it is left wide open, but he goes onto the brakes too early. Defends from the number 2. That is Martino getting a move done on the outside. Went the long way around. A very difficult overtake to make this early on, but the earlier the better. And beyond that, Ruby Acosta here absolutely has put herself into the dominant position to win over the rest of the field. Here we see Adams behind, currently in 8th. There are 2 cars separating the likes of Ruby and them. Keep in mind, this is an in-class race. The red plates are racing the red plates, and the white plates are racing the white plates. However, they're all on track at the same time. So just because Ruby Acosta is currently behind 4 drivers, she is still technically in the lead. And what is going on in the background? There's a massive kerfuffle happening as we see on the exit of looked like the penultimate corner. Everybody manages to settle it out, but I think that's Garnet Adams, Cameron Martino, as well as Matthew Hinkle having a scrap and a half as they continue their fight on Elizabeth Ruby Acosta on her best behavior thus far, it is to be said. You can see no aggressive posturing, no aggressive defense to really be made. She is in it for the long run, doesn't want to be making any moves early, saving tires long term. Garnet Adams here, she needs to get the hurry up on. That's one of the problems right now. Stuck in a bit of a Mustang sandwich as well. They're all Mustangs, but out through the S's, overtaking opportunities are going to be very low. And it's going to be needing to pile onto the back bumper. You have to keep the pressure up early. As Ryan Haddock here, he knows that. Unfortunately, he is sweating like a cow in a burger joint right now as Lowe goes to the inside, and that is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered unless Ryan Haddock can switch it back. No, he cannot. Has the slipstream, though, on the exit of 11, but right there, that is Lowe going extremely defensive. He closes the gap aggressively. Ryan Haddock here, he's going to have to be forced to the outside line, which is the inoptimal line if you want to be making an overtake happen. And again, the defense is going to be strong for Kyle Lowe. Kyle is making some moves early. He's up 1 position. Ricardo Rivera up 2 positions. In the fight, that's going to be Emma Galliso a little bit deep offline. That might allow Jones to go to the inside on the exit. No, it doesn't. Jones playing it very conservatively. Or is that might actually be Penahall, but It is pen to halt, but either way, here we tune up to Cameron and Martino as he is having a fight of his own right now. This is a battle for P7 and P6. You can see up ahead Ryan Haddock. He's sort of getting the best of the rest of these drivers. Kyle Lowe having to stick in the slipstream of the likes of Ryan, but that's going to help him out. Is it going to help him out enough, though? Cameron Martino goes to the inside. He grabs that overtake with both hands. No issues found for him. Samantha Tan Racing Team making gains early on, but keep in mind the sister car of Cameron here is leading this race. Michael Moaning. Oh, no. Cameron Martino. This is a technical issue. It seems there's been brake failure. Something has gone awry, and that is not how Cameron wanted to end his first race. Oh, absolutely devastating. They will gain a couple more positions around. Kyle Lowe finds himself a free position. So does Garnet Adams and Matthew Hinkle. Everybody managing to find the best of that bad situation. But that is gutting. Hopefully they can get that set up by race 2 and manage. Disparity, unfortunately. Michael Mooning here, he has been just dominant so far. 2 seconds ahead of Zach Doran. Looking at lap times as well, Zach is we have a potential move there just as Matthew Hinkle, he's thinking about it, and Adams trying to keep him honest, or keeping them honest as possible. But Zach Doran fall off 2 seconds. 205.3 was his previous lap. A 205.0 from Michael Mooning. That's the fastest lap of this session. Michael's going for the Grand Slam. Pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. Now, it's a little early to call that, as here we go. Matthew Hinkle tries to make a move onto Garnet Adams, but Garnet does not yield. Ooh, a little bit deep, though, as we go on through the double right-hander, heading on towards the triple apex after this corner. Matthew Hinkle here, I think it's a matter of if not when, but Garnet Adams is certainly not going to yield this position easily, as you can see there. The brilliant Global Esports Games there on the front, as we get the bonnet cam and hear that V8 roar directly underneath us. Of curb usage as well. In fact, I think Garnet there went a little bit deep. Now, I was mentioning it earlier in qualifying, but you do need to be careful in these race sessions. If you pick up 4 track limits, you're going to be getting a mandatory trip down pit lane. That's an in-game assigned penalty. There's absolutely no arguing it. And Garnet, I think, just used up one of her speed tokens. Matthew Hinkle, though, oh my goodness, that is a very unpleasant sight to have in your rearview mirror if you are Garnet Adams, to be completely honest. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. In this case, not really. Matthew Hinkle is currently, well, being worn like a license plate by Garnet Adams and has no intentions of going anywhere for the time being. And has it fixed it? I don't know. Hopefully that's good. But apologies if I have had any issues disconnecting. That's not ideal. Hopefully. But anyways, we see Matthew Hinkle here still on the pressure and on the charge as Adams stays defensive for now. Beyond it, though, we see, oh my goodness, this is Ricardo Rivera up at the front, trying to make moves onto Zach Doran. Zach has unfortunately found themselves in a less than ideal scenario right now. He wanted to be pressuring the lead of this race onto Michael Moaning, but he has not found, he has not been able to find it. In chat, but we have Ricardo here. He is hungry for it. He's a Puerto Rico e-racing driver. He wants to represent America. He is looking to try to make a position up early on right now. This is Ricardo and Zach. Zach, though, in the Ricardo's ahead. Oh my, the scoring has not updated. My apologies. Ricardo is ahead. We missed the overtake. So Zach Doran has been knocked down a position into P3. Ricardo Rivera up into second right now. As it's going to be... What is happening? We're looking at... Well... Oh, I'm confused. Okay. William Hendrickson on the back of Ricardo Rivera. That explains a lot. The Puerto Rico E-Racing Club member here is going every which way, but hasn't been able to, unfortunately, shake the likes of Hendrickson. He's trying to drop him like a rock in the Marianas Trench, but he hasn't been able to make that happen. Now, though, through the S's, onto the exit. This is where the setup is. If you're William Hendrickson, this is where you want to make or break your moves. When you're following a driver like this, you're just sort of trying to feel their weaknesses out. And you see right there, Ricardo, he's on the brakes so early. William, he recognizes that. He actually goes to go on the brakes a little bit late, too. Now, is this going to be the striking chance? Not this lap, but on some future laps. This might open up some opportunities for William Hendrickson, where he sees the weakness in Ricardo Rivera. He says, well, I'm a little bit quicker on the exit, or on the entrance there of that corner. Maybe I can go for a dive bomb, get the run then into 12. He's making moves into 11. It can be dangerous, but it can be done as well. For Michael Moning, though, he is smiling at this fight right now, because this is allowing him to pull further and further into the lead, and so is Zach Doran. Zach ahead, he is being, well, he's welcome to this, saying, battle on, chaps, I am fine with that. William Hendrickson, though, he wants to give the hurry up to Ricardo Rivera sooner rather than later. And that battle as well between Matthew Hinkle and Garnet Adams has not ended, in case you were curious, and I don't think that one's going anywhere anytime soon. We'll be keeping an eye on the Ricardo Rivera-William battle here, and you can see this might be the move. William Hendrickson has a great launch onto the start-finish straight. Ricardo Rivera has no slipstream ahead. That is a very close Ford Mustang GT3 to the back of Ricardo. He looks to the inside early, but that's a very, or late, I should say, but neither way, he doesn't go for the move. I would have expected to see this is a bit of a committed move, as that's going to force Matthew Hinkle to the outside. A great defense from Ruby Elizabeth Acosta right here. This is Garnet Adams, excuse me, making the defense, and being such a thorn in the side to Matthew Hinkle as well. Really getting in the way, and that is exactly what Garnet needs to be doing right now. Well, it is and it isn't. Garnet kind of needs to be looking ahead to Ruby Acosta, to be completely honest. So maybe, if you're Garnet, maybe you do just give this position over to Hinkle and try to work together with him, gain that slipstream, and rather than wasting time fighting each other, try to have a little bit of an agreement temporarily, which is easier said than done between drivers, that's for certain. And to be completely honest, judging by the car body language of either of these two drivers, well, I don't think these two are posturing to be friends anytime soon. This is, of course, though, William Hendrickson and Ricardo Rivera. The Ford performance thinks about it to the inside. Ricardo leaves it hanging as well. He's confident to defend the racing line. William Hendrickson, he is going to go a little bit deep, but he manages to park it in the right part of the track. That was Ricardo Rivera not fighting that too hard. Ricardo is going to say, you know, at least that's the plan for the Puerto Rican driver. Can he make that dream become a reality? Well, that we will find out. William Hendrickson, though, he is going to be moving up into third and smiling away with that one. Looking up the field towards Zach Doran, 4.8 seconds up the road. Zach Doran, 3.8 seconds off of Michael Moning. It's a bit of a one-horse race at the top, and I guess I mean that literally, being the Ford Mustang up at the top. There's, of course, a stable of horses out on track tonight. Not sure I've ever used that description before, but I think it's descriptive. William Hendrickson seems to be piloting this Ford Mustang to superb natures as well. Matthew Hinkle here, he is not quite going to be saying the same about his performance, I would imagine, as he's just been bottlenecked the whole time, and Garnet Adams has just been giving Matthew a run for his money. Is he going to be able to switch it back here? No, he's too far back, and heading onto the right-hander, there is absolutely no shot. Either way, they continue their scrap on. Oh, and a little bit of an ambitious look there. This is Hinkle getting deep into the exit of the S's. He's getting impatient. Doesn't make it stick, though. That was a dangerous look. Oh, he's going for it again. The gap is not there, and Garnet Adams is hyper aware. You can see that was going to move out of the way of that dive bomb. The look, though, now on the run out of 11 into 12. Not going to be able to make it happen. Again, playing in the rear view mirror right now, Matthew Hinkle, he is going to be getting more and more upset, seeing red more and more often. Either way, the fight rages on. On to the next lap, they're gonna go. Matthew Hinkle sets it up for the penultimate corner, maybe into the final corner. This is gonna be the run for the turn one, down into Big Red. As he launches himself out, but again, it just doesn't seem the car is planted enough. I'm not sure if there just isn't enough straight line speed, unfortunately, to be had there. That might be the problem when all is said and done. Is it a setup related issue? Did they run not enough wing on the car? That's a question they're gonna have to be asking themselves for race 2. Continuing though through the S's, side onto the back little bit here into sector 2. One of the fastest drivers, interestingly, out there in terms of the qualifiers was William Hendrickson. He set the fastest lap at a 2:04.4. Hasn't been able to really answer that, though, in the race session. Looking, though, to improve. Has been doing a good job so far. Up a couple positions from where they started. Actually, William Hendrickson, I should say, down one. Ricardo Rivera up one. Biggest gainer tonight is Harrison Santelijo, currently running in P10, up 4 positions from 14th. But Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. It's been a bit of a one-horse race for her as well. In terms of the leaders of both categories, Ruby hasn't had anyone really contesting her. It's been a unanswered or an unquestioned race so far, and Ruby, well, she's here to answer it. As we approach the final 13 minutes, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. But it certainly is not out of the cards for any one of these drivers just yet. Michael Mooning, he's not necessarily known to put a foot wrong. He's a driver that I've seen in multiple different leagues. And he is a very, very experienced sim racer, not just in Assetto Corsa, in other sims as well, but in particular ACC. He is a specialist. And he's demonstrating that here tonight. He's saying, I am the one. I am the reason. I'm going to be the one to join the United States esports team. Well, at least right now, that's what he's saying. Is anyone else going to be trying to make the same claims? Well, yes, is the short answer. But can they? That we will find out. It's a matter of 12 minutes, 19 seconds down to the wire as Matthew Hinkle here. He is still stuck, bottlenecked as ever. And you can see the frustration in the car body language. Every single corner, Matthew is trying to make some form of move. Now, this is very dangerous because this can cost you more than it's worth at the end of the day. You might end up going into the barrier. You might end up going just into the car in front of you. That's worst case scenario because then you're going to be assuredly getting a penalty. But either way, Matthew Hinkle here, he has his nose to the grindstone, and Garnet Adams been doing superbly throughout the entirety of this race so far. Lap times currently, though, in favor of Matthew. 2:07 point. Actually, excuse me. There you go. Oh my goodness! As there was a look. Oh, and there's a send and a half. Goes to the inside. Was there a gap? Some may say no. He managed to find it though, and Garnet Adams immediately responds back, dives back down the inside of the left-hander as they come on now to the triple apex left-hander of the horseshoe. Someone's got to give. Who's it going to be? It looks like, unfortunately, Garnet Adams has to finally hand that position over. That was an aggressive move from Matthew Hinkle, and the stewards certainly will be having a look at that one. Whether or not they decide anything is another story, but it's definitely an aggressive move. He was a move out of frustration. Was it clean? Yeah, I didn't see much contact, but only had the one angle of it, unfortunately. Matthew Hinkle, though, shoes on the other foot. Can you pull away? Because now, Garnet Adams, we're going to see what she's like on the offensive. Matthew Hinkle going to have to be putting on a stark defense for the next 10 minutes in this race. 4/10 separating the two. Again, Garnet has the faster lap out of the two drivers. 206.9 is her fastest lap. A 207.7 is Matthew's fastest lap. But it seems at this point, has Garnet maybe used a little bit more of her tires than she would like? That could be an issue as I say that. Well, she's going to be leaving a little bit more rubber burnt there onto the tarmac. And yeah, I think that answers my question. I think the tires are starting to get down there a little bit, which is a bit of a surprise. These Ford Mustangs in particular, not the most aggressive on tires, but COTA is a very much a tire munching circuit, and especially we're at 33 degrees track temp, 26 degrees ambient temp. It is, it's really a game of having your tires melt off your, well, rims at this point. Michael Mooning, though, doesn't really make much of a difference for him. He's been able to maintain his tires, save them for the long term, and there is a car parked off there. That's Benjamin Jones. He's having a picnic on the side of COTA. I don't blame him. I'd like to do the same. But unfortunately, it has not been the greatest race for Benjamin Jones after that lap 1 incident. Going straight on and then having to try to recover. Unfortunately, I think they have pulled over and called it good for this session. They'll be returning to the garage, I would imagine. Hopefully, though, back out for race 2 and in much better strides. But this driver, though, in front of your eyes, the Samantha Tan Racing of Michael Mooning, he is incredible. Emma Galliso, though, here we go, has found the back now of Harrison. They're on through the triple right-hander of Sector 3. Ooh, Emma gets fully alongside here. It's going to turn to the outside, though, once they reach corner exit. But she is going to be fully ahead before they reach corner entry. A lovely move. It's not done yet, though, as this is going to be a big send there from the 3, but they are doing their best Sum 41 impression, and they are in too deep. That scenario and running away handedly. This is Zach Doran. Zach has been chomping at the bits trying to catch up with Michael Mooning, but unfortunately he just hasn't been able to answer. It's very, I don't want to say it's gutting, it's still a P2 result, so it's certainly nothing to shake a stick at, but when only one driver makes it through at the end of the day, this is going to put Zach on the back foot. And going into race 2, it'll be very important for the likes of Zach to obviously take that race win. And in the likes of a tie, I'm honestly not sure what happens. We'll have to talk with the management to see exactly how a tie would be decided if that does come into reality. But either way, Zach Doran here, he's doing everything he can, lapping the fastest he can. 205.7 is his previous lap, 205.1, fastest lap of the session for him. Just not quite able to answer to the 204.5 of our race leader, unfortunately, Michael Mooning. And we can see here both of our leaders on screen right now. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta on your right, Michael Mooning on your left. It's a great result so far for the two. Neither of them having to work extra hard. They're not having to get their elbows out too much. In fact, it's been sort of smooth sailing for Ruby Acosta, to be completely honest. I'm not sure she's had much of any battles at all, and same can be said for Michael Mooning. So it's just been a smooth drive to the end and a bit of a hot lapping session for these drivers. Thankfully, they've had plenty of practice for that in these Ford Mustangs. But we'll see. Race 2, Maybe they'll be tested a little bit more. We will have another qualifying as well, so these drivers will have to put their money where their mouth is a second time if they do want to end up making it towards the finals. And as well, Elizabeth Acosta here. The thing, I guess what is it? The driver's text that she put in, the little things that the drivers submit about themselves. Again, she seemed like the one coming into this that just exuded confidence, in my opinion. And it goes to show, to be honest here. Ruby has come into this race, really hasn't let anybody else make a mark in her day at all. She's kind of here to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to qualify for the USEF for GEG in 2024. That's all she has on her brain right now. And I will say, it's looking good. It's going to be taking quite a bit. Garnet Adams and Galasso have managed, I think, to find each other relatively close on track. But as we continue on, 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes left before we're down to the wire. And Coda, this is again one of those tracks that can give and it can take away. Track limits, at any point in time you could see a drive-through penalty pop up on any one of their names, and that will be end of the day pretty much for any one of them that do. 4 warnings sends you a mandatory trip down pit lane, and I'm seeing more and more invalid laps as this race goes on. The fatigue may be kicking in. This is where the drivers, they really have to dial in, get in their own heads and say, look, this is what I'm here to do. This is why I'm proving that I'm here to do this, and have to just, I don't want to say suffer through the pain, but you gotta embrace the pain, I guess, when it comes down to it at a certain point, because, yeah, these drivers have put in a lot of work for this championship, and it shows. Michael Moning in particular, he is lapping absolutely second to none right now. And Garnet Adams, a valiant effort, it is to be said. She managed to put on that fight with Hinkle. That was a battle of a century. Hinkle, beyond frustrated at a certain point, had to make some very aggressive moves to make him get it, to get the position finally done and dusted. But at the end of the day, when the getting gets tough, well, everybody kind of got going. Hinkle in particular. No, there's the drive-through I was talking about. Garnet Adams, as I was mentioning her name as well. Oh, yeah, hate to see it. Well, I guess somebody had to do it. It's just unfortunate that it was in this manner. Garnet Adams, exploring track limits one too many times, will have to make a mandatory stop down pit lane within the next 3 laps. And very here as well, a fun fact about Ruby Garnett is that she's a part of the first screen-to-screen racing event in Las Vegas, the first ever IRL first ever IRL race for women's sim racing. So not only did she make a debut in that, she's looking to make a debut for the women's team in esports. This is amazing. Ruby Acosta, dedicated as ever, and has a, I don't want to say it, I do want to say, I'll say it as it is, she has a very stubborn head, and I can respect that. That is, that's what a racer needs. You need to be stubborn. You need to be believing in yourself. And Ruby Acosta seems like she believes in herself more than anyone else, and that's what it takes. You have your friends, you have your family that cheer you along, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to put the results in. And Ruby Acosta, she's doing it. She's managing it here tonight. Her fastest lap, a 2:06.1. And that is in race pace as well. Her qualifying lap, a little bit quicker. But as it seems, Ruby, maybe a bit of a butterfly in a windstorm, as she has just made her way through the pack without really being noticed by anybody. Again, I mean, we've been mentioning her time and time again, but I think just all in all, the rest of the pack, it's kind of been unknown to that, and same with Michael Moning. It's been a story of utter domination at the top. A one-horse race, a one Mustang race. And They are going to be trying to return to the stables on the next lap. This will be the penultimate lap for Michael Mooning. He is coming around that final sector into the triple right-hander and on towards the penultimate corner complex. And unfortunately, Garnet Adams also did take part in the screen-to-screen event in Las Vegas. But unfortunately for her tonight, with that drive-through penalty, that's more than likely going to put her down into last position with a, again, just an unfortunate way to end up losing out. But still not out of the cards for anyone yet, because anyone can still get a drive-through penalty. Just because we're on the last lap does not mean people are exempt from track limits. And that also means Michael Mooning. Now, I will say, I haven't seen Michael examine track limits too many times throughout this race. He's been pretty much superb as it stands, and he's looking to pretty much answer every single question emphatically that was asked against him. And he has done. He's done so far. 10 seconds left in this session. Once that checkered flag falls, the race leader that will cross the line, which is Michael Mooning, will take that checkered flag. So just because the time goes down to 0 does not mean the race is over. Michael still has to make it all the way back to square 0 in order to finish this race. And as I mention it, there's another drive-through penalty being thrown on the boards. Unfortunately, Ronnie Penhall has found a drive-through as well. We saw Garnet Adams there taking their mandatory stop down pit lane. And it is not all sunshine and rainbows for everybody down there, unfortunately. But either way, it is sunshine and rainbows for Michael Mooning. He has done excellent. Emma Galliso. Oh, and unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for Emma Galliso, she is going to be granted a free position as Garnet Adams has picked up a speeding in pit lane penalty as well. So she has gone over the mandated speed for pit lane and has picked up a stop go 30 as a result. That will certainly put her in last. Into the final corner complex, turn 20. It's been nothing but domination. It is a grand slam for the Samantha Tan Racing number 4, Michael Mooning. Fastest lap of the race, fastest lap of qualifying, and race winner for race 1 of the USEF.GG qualifiers for GEG 2024. Ruby Acosta, your next driver to come to the line as well. She's going to be taking the race win for the female category. The number 40, Queen's Design. She's the queen right now. Stands on the top of the charts. Takes home P1. P5 overall as well. Ryan Haddock here coming up next to the line. That'll be 6th for him. We have Lowe coming up after that with Hinkle as well. What a race 1. Dominance at the front. Not too much of an issue. But is that going to contend over into race 2? That we will find out very, very soon. This is Emma Galliso. Very nice race as well. P2 finish. It's going to be in class, so definitely nothing to shake a stick at. Could potentially take it to Ruby Elizabeth Acosta all the way in the end of this championship. And of course, this championship ending tonight, where we will be seeing the drivers battle it out in race 2. But that will be in a little bit, of course. We're in the meantime going to be having an interview with some of the behind-the-scenes members. That'll be very shortly, so don't go anywhere for that as we watch the rest of the drivers come to the line. Garnet Adams there, 60 seconds added at the end of the race. Unfortunate, but the rest of the drivers are good to finish. And as we come back, welcome back, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed that race. What a dominant start for the two leaders right now, Michael Mooning as well as Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. They showed their stuff tonight, and they showed why they are the ones to join the team at the end of the day. But it's not over yet. It's not over yet. There's still more to come. And on that, I think we're going to be heading over here to a little bit of an interview. So I'd like to welcome my two friends, Steffi Bow, as well as Ainsley Partosa, joining me here for a little bit of a discussion about exactly what USEF.GG is about. As we will be shortly. There we are. There we are. How's it going,
Hey.
Steffi? How's it going, Ainsley? How did you guys enjoy that broadcast? I know sort of newer to sim racing on Ainsley's side of thing. What was you guys' take on that first race?
Yeah, my first impressions, it's like my first time watching sim racing. It's just as exciting as watching the live racing on TV. And there's so much skill involved. And I think it's very much an underrated esport.
Yeah, it really the amount of practice that these drivers put in, a lot of the times it doesn't show on screen because there are so many little details when you get on the throttle, when you get on the brakes, how you get off the brakes, when you start to turn in. There are so many different variables that make sim racing such an incredible sport that also translates obviously over into real life skills as well. And Steffi, I know you have a little bit of input on the real life side of things as well. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, first of all, it was an amazing race. I loved it. Everybody was really going for their best, and like a few overtakes, not too many, because as you said, the track is so difficult to be able to find a line to pass. But exciting nevertheless. Yes, I come from motorsport, so therefore I know and I see, like all of the different type of things that are happening on track and what happens, during a sim racing event. And it's just fantastic. So I'm very happy that Ansley, from the USEF got to experience it, and learn a little bit more of what it takes to be a good sim racer.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I do have one question. This, I guess, will be a question for either of you. But Ainsley, why don't we start off with you? What does it mean exactly to be a member of Team USA when this is all said and done?
Yeah, so to be a member of the United States Esports Federation, it's such an honor, honestly, to work with them and then to represent your country, the United States of America. It's all about bringing together players and esports athletes for our core values of opportunity, community, diversity, and respect. So if you are a stellar esports athlete and you want to represent your country, then you know that means just so much to represent them in esports, just like how people represent the country in traditional sports.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a cool opportunity as well to be giving it to absolutely everybody out there in the Americas. It's what a chance this is for these drivers to be able to participate, and what an event that we've had so far. And again, more to come in the future. But I guess another question, what is the overall goal of USEF.GG at the end of the day?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we want to provide opportunities to esports athletes in the country and to represent with their best foot forward. And it's very integral to not only like friendly competition, but cultural exchange. There's so much that you can learn from sim racing, from other countries. I'm sure people have different techniques, whether you're in your area of the world versus someone else competing in another area of the world. So then that bridges so much cultural exchange.
Yeah, as well as the camaraderie, getting to meet people all around the world, as well as we have Steffi here, of course, the Italian with us, as we are just lone Americans. But Steffi, all in all, from your perspective on this, what would you say in terms of that? Like, I mean, this is just such an amazing event at the end of the day, and obviously being within it, you have managed to help out with the USEF side of things. I don't know, how is it from that perspective?
Well, first of all, I want to kind of like to bring in a very important information that maybe not all of you out there knows yet. But there was a big announcement during the Olympic this year, and that big announcement was that there is going to be an esport Olympic. This is going to happen next year, and therefore every country, is going to have now the opportunity to feed and foster, those athletes to be able to go and compete in the Olympic esport. Now, of course, it's still everything up in the air to figure out what kind of games and or discipline they're gonna go. But I have a feeling, maybe also because I have a passion, that sim racing is prime for this. So therefore, with USEF, we decide, hey, this is the right time to get in and start to discover that talent. This particular event is going to be able to bring those two winners for the men category and the female category to the global sport games. They're going to happen in December, but the concept is all the same, right? It's all about to try to create this camaraderie, this community of Americans that they are going to want to be representing the country in global competitions.
Yeah, and of course, being within it, you have gotten that started a little bit, and I wanted to bring this up on broadcast as well because I just think this is one of the coolest things that you can be doing is the Sim for STEM program that Init has offered. Giving access to the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana, a program for 2 years, inspiring them to get sim racing as well as learning math opportunities and all sorts of different STEM fields in that category. I want to see that throughout the entirety of the United States. That would be, I think, my goal as somebody who's just loves racing for my entire life. But what you guys have done already is just incredible.
We're trying, very hard. The sim racing and motorsport as a whole is tend to be a very male-dominated industry. But sim racing and everybody in the esport community tend to want to be all together. So we are just providing all of this opportunity to be able to discover their talent, foster their talent, and perhaps, move from the digital world into the in real life world. So Sim for STEM is one of the programs, and we are very proud that now we are going to be able to do it with the Girl Scouts of Central Indiana. And like you said, if we can continue to bring this sense of working hard, using math, so transforming a little bit on the way that regular education is taught, and bring video games in. I think it's very powerful because we can meet the kids where they are, but then give them aspiration and opportunities to open up into the real world. So Sim for STEM actually leads into Screen to Speed. Screen to Speed is another movement and program that we do, which again is all for female. We have actually 2 participants today. I think you mentioned Ruby Acosta and Garnet Adams, the participant in the very first one. And the idea there is, again, move from in the schools or in activities like the Girl Scouts, get the girls interested, then get them to compete in the best and unique female competition in the Screen to Speed world, and then from that put them in real cars. So it's just magic in the happen. I think a lot of people out there got to see the GT movie, the Gran Turismo movie. Well, we are trying to reproduce that for women and minorities. So that's the goal of Init Esports.
That is such an amazing goal, and I obviously hope that we succeed with that because that would be so incredible to see at the end of the day, and it's what we're working towards. It's what we're going to see. It's not even what I say we're going to see that at the end of the day. So absolutely amazing. And Ainsley, coming into again with mentioning sort of transferable skills and things like that, does this maybe make you want to pick up a wheel, maybe get into sim racing just a little bit, give it a try, and maybe catch the sim racing bug?
Yeah, I'm always up for trying out new games. I've done VR a little bit, but I'm sure that sim racing is also just as immersive and a whole new avenue of like playing. And it's probably going to take me a while. I've had to like transfer learning how to play fighting games from a controller to like a box. So then having a wheel is like, oh man, there's like all these different kinds of like peripherals and apparatuses to play games with.
Oh yeah, it is a rabbit hole and a half, and when you catch, as I said, you catch the bug, that is what a lot of people often call it. It's very hard to get unbit from the sim racing bug. It's just an addicting hobby all in all, and I think people will come to find that as well as they get into it and pick up controllers themselves. It doesn't just necessarily need to start with a wheel. Of course, all these games are available on a controller as well. But the simulator aspect does come from the wheel side of things, which of course we were talking about transfers your skills over to real life, including teaching you how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, Steffi, I think what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing. And obviously here, moving on to the USEF.GG, what are you looking forward to for race 2 here? Are we thinking, who do we have any gambles? Do we have any bets that we're going to be placing on anyone? Obviously, we don't advise that to anybody. No. But is there anyone that we're placing on money? Do you think Michael Mooning's going to take this one as he looked so dominant in the first one? Or do we maybe think that we're going to see a bit of a run for his money?
Well, it's racing, so anything can happen in racing, even if it's the digital. We saw, like we saw Jones, going straight, with a brake failure at one point. So yes, like it is a racing, everything can happen. But so far, both Michael and Ruby, they've shown, they shown up at their best. So it's gonna be very hard to beat them. But we will see. That's why we have race 2. And I know that they're going to give everyone on that grid 100%, because come on, they're going to get to represent, USA going to the Global Sport Federation. What an honor.
If they didn't have a fire lit under the seat of their pants, they certainly do now. Yeah, my goodness. And Ainsley, any predictions from you?
I don't know. Everything can change within like milliseconds. It's so interesting trying to see, like, I can't even plan how I would overtake another player in the racetrack. And the timing of the brakes is just so precise. I think all these amazing competitors have something to offer. I usually like to go for the underdog. So even though there may have been some mishaps in these previous laps, I think that there's definitely a chance for recovery.
Certainly is. Anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. On that, thank you so much from both of you, Ainsley and Steffi, for giving us a little bit more insight onto the behind the scenes of the Init and the USEF.GG platform. We are going to run a quick little ad, and we will be back very And we are back once again and getting ready to get down to the second qualifying, where these drivers will have their last opportunities to set themselves in the position to gain a title, to join the United States Esports Federation. Only 2 drivers will be going tonight. Who will it be? Is Michael Monin going to be able to take it? Is Elizabeth Ruby Acosta going to be able to take it? They're the most likely ones right now, as they are leading the championship. But as we discussed there with Steffi, that doesn't matter if you're leading anything. You can end up with brake failure. You can end up with mechanical failure. And you never know what can happen. Anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. And we are going to be seeing that again at COTA, one of the more historic and one of the more epic tracks out there. It is it's a track that was designed back in 2012, or it was opened in 2012. The first ever race was hosted as a Ferrari Challenge, and that was pre the the Formula One event. Easy enough for me to say. But the circuit was designed by a renowned architect called Herman Teich, and he has drawn some inspiration from some of the more famous tracks around the world, including Silverstone, Hockenheim, as well as Istanbul, and a few other tracks that have kind of made this machination of a track to be so perfect. It has elevation, it has sweeping corners, it has long straights, and it has just overall a fun time. Overtaking opportunities are a little on the lower side, but you still can make it happen if you get your elbows out enough, which we did see in the previous race, and I wouldn't expect to see more. Qualifying. The drivers are on their outlap. And okay, as hopefully we are back and everything is good. I have no idea what's causing that, but anyways, we're into qualifying here tonight for Quali 2. It's a mid-afternoon qualifying around 3 o'clock p.m. The track temp is looking quite warm. Once again, we're seeing a 35-degree track temp with a 27-degree ambient. meaning that your brakes are going to get up to temperature very, very quickly. Now, that's a good thing for your outlap, but it can also be a bad thing if you do end up getting your brake ducts a little bit wrong. That's one of the settings that you can change in your setups for ACC. That's something that a lot of people, you don't get to see if you don't play the simulator. You don't get to see the real, the gubbins behind the scenes, all of the data, all of the numbers, the suspension, the tire pressures, everything that goes into making these cars. But, yeah, as it is going to be, the technical difficulties have made me lose my train of thought. Apologies, but Michael Mooning here, he's been dominant so far. The number 4 and the number 40. Some say that's fate that those two are the ones dominating, but we'll see if that becomes a reality. Through goes Mooning. This is his first lap, the out lap, you might call it, so he does still need to come to the line before he can end up setting a real one. Michael, though, will be the first driver out on track to do so. It's a long track here at COTA. If you did miss the first broadcast, first off, go back and watch it. What are you doing? Second off, let me tell you a little bit about this track. It is Circuit of the Americas that we are driving at. This is a 3.4 mile or 5.5 kilometer circuit founded back in 2012 and has been unchanged ever since. 20 corners, 11 to the left and 9 to the right, with 40 meters or 133 feet of elevation. All of that happening on the long run up towards turn 1. 133 feet for the drivers to tackle before they end up having to go barreling into the S's. And the long straight after turn 11, it's going to be about 0.75 of a mile, about 3/4 of a mile, and 1.1 kilometers down the back stretch. We're going to go on board, though, with Michael Mooning in the Samantha Tan number 4 for a full onboard. There's the pedal cam. You can see no heel-toe braking required for these cars. They all have flappy paddle gearboxes, so you're going to be just shifting as is. They have a sequential, a seamless shift gearbox, as you would, say in MotoGP. But now on to the S's. This is the tough part of the sector. A left, a right, a left. You guessed it, a right. Followed up by, well, another right, actually. Not a left this time, but there's a left after it. It is a very, very difficult sweeping sector, unpredictable as always, and there's really only one line that you can gain time on. If you go offline whatsoever through there, you're going to be scrubbing your tires, you're going to end up washing out wide where you don't want to, and that will invalidate your lap, especially on the exit of the S's when you send yourself up that little hill, that kind of little left-hander through turn 9, and then begin your descent down to turn 11. And this was that long straight that I was talking about. You can sort of kick back, relax a little bit, have a sip of your water as you got time to think, as you're flat out the entire time before you reach the braking zone, and then you have to quickly decide on what you're going to do, all the way down to second gear, getting back onto the throttle now, punches it out of it towards the turn 13 and 14 complex. Very difficult corner to get right at the best of times. Does manage to do so, fairly nice. A little bit off the limit, though. That's one thing you're noticing. This is a banker lap for Mooning, so he isn't really pushing at 110% right now. So far, keeping it between the mayo and the mustard. Big lift off through the triple apex. Manages to go a little bit wide. Again, just playing the safer line there. Not quite on the absolute limit. Absolutely ragging it, though, through the penultimate corner and into the final corner. Starting to find his limit now. Gets good rotation onto the straight, accelerates out now, and heads to the line. This will be our first lap of the night, and it is a 204.0, and a very good lap. I think that was actually, would have been pole position in the previous session, if I'm not mistaken. That is a blistering lap early on that these drivers are going to have to respond to. William Hendrickson, he can't. Over half a second off. 5.5. Michael Mooning is, he's blistering. to be completely honest. That is absolutely insane. But back onto it here. He is going to be trying for another lap, William Hendrickson, and trying to gain over Michael Moaning. Now, 5.5 tenths, 6 tenths is tough to find. It's quite the margin. However, William, 3 tenths is the gap right now. He's managed to find. He just has another half of the track to go. William Hendrickson here on the back stretch, heading down towards turn 12. Has to find a good bit of pace if he does want to find this, though. This is a good warm-up, as Michael Moaning actually has gone back into pit lane. Oh, big slide to the back end there for Will. That is not going to be helping the Delta. It doesn't affect it too much, though, actually, as he only lost a tenth as a result. But there's certainly time to be gained there for Will. He knows that. On the exit of the kind of tricky middle sector and into the back horseshoe now, William Henderson up a tenth. Needs a lot more than that. Behind him, Zach Doran invalidates. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta invalidates. These drivers, they're pushing. They're pushing. You can tell they want this more than anything they've ever raced for, I would imagine, and I can understand why. William Hendrickson to the line. It's an improvement. It's not enough. 4 tenths off the pace. This here is the number 9. This is Ryan Haddock getting dealt with some traffic, unfortunately. He's a 10th up right now. Does have Emma, or who's that ahead? That is Emma ahead. Yeah, that is Emma Galliso ahead. So he does have a bit of a slipstream. That'll be helping him out. Not too close to her to give him any form of dirty air, so he won't be washing the front end of that bonnet out and making it more difficult for Ryan to drive. Ryan here comes around the final corner. Isn't going to improve too much. Ryan does improve. Emma improves 3 tenths up to a 207.3. Ryan overtakes her with a 206.1. Ruby Elizabeth again invalidating. William invalidating. Michael invalidating. Zach invalidating. Everyone's invalidating. It's the invalid central today. Matthew Hinkle to the line. He did not invalidate. However, he did not improve either. But still topping the time charts. The elephant in the room, might you say? It's Michael Moaning. Can't quite see the time charts on the left-hand side of your screens, but those get pulled up very briefly. But William Hendrickson, 2:04.5 to the 2:04.0 from Michael Moaning. 5 tenths to find. Is it in the box? Well, we'll find out. Got another 4.5 minutes of qualifying to go. And there you can see Garnet Adams, unfortunately, bottom of the time charts right now for that class. But we know there's a bit more pace to be found there. Emma and Garnet, though, currently locking horns. I guess horses don't have horns. Maybe it's a bad example. But if they were in Lamborghinis, that would fit. But they're not. So we pay no mind to that. Garnet Adams coming around the final sector now. 5/10 improvement. It's looking good. It needs to look good, though. 4.3 seconds off of pole position right now. Oh, a little bit bumpy through the final corner. Catches the inside sausage curb. And that is going to be a 4/10 improvement, but not enough to take the position from Emma Galliso. Kyle Lowe in 6th position. He is on he is on an improvement right now. A couple tenths above of what he was previous. He only needs to find a couple tenths as well. Ryan Haddock about 1.5 tenths ahead. Ruby Acosta not too far out of that gap either. Kyle here If he can manage this lap that he already has, he's going to improve quite handedly. He has one more corner to go and potentially gain time, but he also can lose time. He took way too much curb on the inside. He does find the position over Ryan Haddock by about 70 thousandths of a second, but he doesn't find the position over Ruby Acosta. They are going to be separated by roughly 70 thousandths of a second, give or take. The margins are fine, but is it going to get any tighter? That's the question. It can, for sure. William Hendrickson, he wants to do that. He's invalidated, though. Again, battling with track limits. That's the game. Kyle Lowe found himself in another situation like that. Actually, he's back in pit lane making a quick setup change. He needs to get out on track now if he wants any chance of setting another lap. If not, that's going to have to do it. Now, one of the very important things that I haven't mentioned yet for anyone that is newer to racing and just joining us, over the course of this qualifying session, the track is going to do something called rubbering in. And what that means is as these drivers drive the track more and more and their tires cross the same spot more and more, there's going to get more rubber laid down into the little microscopic gaps between the tarmac, not even microscopic, between the tarmac, which is going to allow these cars more traction out of the corners and into the braking zones. So as the race prolongs and as the qualifying session prolongs, the track is actually getting faster, meaning the drivers are able to set quicker and quicker laps. So that's why we see constant improvements from these drivers. And Michael Moning, no exception. He has improved again by a couple tenths. Here is Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, though. The Queen's design to the line, and it is still going to be P1. P4 overall, though, for the number 40 driver. But it does seem that Elizabeth here, Ruby Elizabeth has the confidence. William Hendrickson as well here. He is trying to find any bit of pace he has. This is the time. This is your final opportunity, Will. If you want to get that pole position, he is going to be looking nice and tidy through the S's. Not enough, though. We need to be seeing improvements. He's about dead even with his previous lap. This is Michael Moning coming to the line. There will be no improvement for him. Qualifying is not done and dusted, actually. He set himself up there for another lap. So he's going to go again just in case Will does respond to his lap. But I don't suspect Mike is going to finish that lap. Will, though, 1/10 up coming on to the back straight. He needs more. We know there's time in Sector 3, though. We've seen where he's weak through the turn 15 and into 16. There's a lot of wheel spin that he's had in the past here. Is he going to repeat it? This is the time for the perfect lap, Will. Through the corner. Nice and tidy apex. A little bit deep. Manages to get it turned, though, back to the right side here. On the racing line, needs to get nice and close to the curb. He does so. This is looking good. William Hendrickson, though, he's not finding the pace he needs. He's a little offline through that corner and shooting himself now down towards the triple right hand or the horseshoe corner. And it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. William Hendrickson has to find a miracle in Sector 3 if he's going to do it. He's gaining a little bit. He's going into the penultimate corner now, and he's invalidated. William Hendrickson qualifying is now over. He practices his pit entry, but that is going to be P2 at best for the number 12. Zach Doran, can he respond? He's still on a lap. Michael Moning here still is out. He's improving by a 10th, but the real driver I think to look at is going to be Zach Doran here. Michael really doesn't need to finish this lap, I don't think. Zach Doran, he's up 2/10 though. Certainly not out of the question yet. Is 10th up, going through the final sector now. Makes a lovely right-hander, still a 10th on the margins here for him. He doesn't need to complete this lap, I don't think, but he's gonna anyways. 2/10 up. He's making his mark here. Is this gonna be the only driver into the 203s? I think it is. We're gonna see Michael Moning come around the final corner now with a 10th improvement, and he shoots into the 203s, the only driver to do so tonight. Absolutely electric. Great job from Michael Moning. He's gonna be a tough one to beat. It's gonna take seemingly an incident William Hendrickson, what does he have? Does he have the race pace? Does Zach Doran have the pace either? Zach did improve on his previous lap, but he only improved a little bit. 0.2 over his previous lap was only good enough for third position. But Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, fourth fastest overall, first in category at 2:05.4. Is she going to be in this one potentially for a podium conversation? This is looking spicy for race 2 for the USA national team qualifiers. This is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. As we get ready here, the session transfers over. We'll be down to it momentarily, as there is, of course, the calm before the storm that is going to be the final race of tonight. 30 minutes will be on the clock. It's the same format that we had in the previous one, and it's going to be a melee. We know it already. We know these drivers are going to be nervous. I think that might be an understatement. Just to be completely honest, I'd love to hear from some of the drivers, especially we are going to be hearing from the race winners after, the championship winners after this. So definitely don't go anywhere if you want to hear some extremely excited folks, whoever that is going to be. But right now, it's looking like Michael Mooning and Ruby Acosta at the top. But again, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. There we get a nice look at all of the liveries here tonight on the field. And my goodness, lots of effort has been put in. Love the Samantha Tan Racing. Yes, it's an in-game livery, but yes, it still looks great. The Visceral Esports car you can see there, that's Michael Mooning's, or it's not Michael Mooning, excuse me, that's Zach Doran's, my apologies. In the number 15, that is a brilliant looking livery. The number 40, the pink machine there for the Ford Mustang GT3, that's Ruby Acosta. Coming home in 5th is Kyle Lowe with the likes of Ryan Haddock. In 6th, the Merkin GT3 Ford Mustang alongside the sister Merkin GT3 Ford Mustang. You love to see that. Behind them, that is going to be the number 55 there of Emma Galasso with Garnet Adams behind. That'll be a spicy fight for P2. Who is going to win? Well, we'll see. We have the number 3 driver of Santigello in P10, rounding out your top 10 with Brian Jones in P11. A little bit better of a qualifying this time for him. Hopefully he can get all of the technical issues sorted there. Ronnie Penhall in P12, and last but not least, Preston Patterson in P13, rounding out the back of the grid. We got 1 minute on the clock before we begin our outlap here for COTA, the long-awaited finals for the qualifying to see who's going to make it to the Global Esports Games in 2024, this December. And there we see, there is the lovely circuit itself, COTA. Brilliant in its excellence, located in Austin, Texas. It is a real driver's track at the end of the day. Turn 1, nicknamed the runway to the sky. It's a very eco-friendly track as well, in case you guys were curious. It has been praised for its sustainability efforts, including water recycling systems and solar panel installations, so COTA is a green racetrack, as far as I'm concerned. It also has an amphitheater here at this track. It can hold up to about 14,000 different seats as well for the amphitheater. It's called the Germania Insurance Amphitheater, and the venue has featured bands such as Paul McCartney, Metallica, T-Swift, Bruno Mars, and many, many more. It is an event that if you haven't been to in real life, it is a bucket list event to go to. It is an electric atmosphere around F1 time. And even for the GT cars, that's one of the things right about this track that I absolutely love, is that they don't just race Formula One here. They race GT cars. They race MotoGP. And oh my goodness, if anyone knows me on my commentary, they know that I like randomly talking about MotoGP in my commentary, because let's be real, MotoGP is awesome. How do you not want to talk about it? No, I'm not going to bore you, chat. Don't worry, I won't talk about it. But it is exciting. And of course, I think the other, or anyways, I think I can tie it, but anyways. We are on the outlap here. We have about 1.5 miles to go before the drivers do end up back to the start-finish line. And we'll be battling it out tooth and nail for 30 minutes. Race 1 had a few overtakes in it. I'm expecting a few more. I'm expecting some elbows out action, as we already see William Hendrickson overtake Michael Mooning. Now, obviously, this has not beneficial. This is not the race is not started yet, but I think that's William just trying to get into the head maybe a little bit of Michael. And that is, that might make the difference. You know, the mind games that you play with the drivers, having looks into the braking zone. Personally, I'm not too big of a fan of that. But, you know, some drivers, they like to make little lunges, trying to keep the driver ahead on their head on a swivel. But it also can end up in disaster and tears sometimes. And that's why I'm not the most favorable of that strategy. But again, every driver is different. Every driver has a different strategy and how they're going to accomplish it. And a win is a win. I don't think there's any other way of putting it. Michael Mooning here. He wants to go back-to-back wins. That much I know. And there we can see, this is a brilliant shot there. You can see the tower as well, the COTA tower in the background that can be seen in the Austin skyline. And the back stretch where the overtaking really happens. You can see we got the medical cars on standby in case anything goes hairy. It's always #1 priority. Safety first, especially in esports. But now, with the outlap mostly complete, we go into the final sector. This is where the drivers really start getting on the brakes. They start weaving around. You can see Hendrickson, he is moving every which way. Wants to heat into them, but this is his last chance. You got to do what you got to do right now if you're Hendrickson. And if you want to try to take the challenge to Michael Mooning, it's going to be a heck of an effort for the Samantha Tan Racing team here if they can manage to make this happen. They have the target on their back right now. Ruby Acosta, to be fair, shares the same target. Down in 4th position. Doesn't have to worry too much about Emma or Garnet, though. That's one thing that Ruby here has a huge advantage over Michael, is that they have some separation in the class. But either way, we're ready and rearing to go. The drivers are lined up 2 by 2, Noah's Ark formation. William Hendrickson is in 2nd. Michael Mooning on pole position as we approach the line here at COTA. It's a long, long wait before we get ready down for the short run up the hill, 133 feet before they reach the braking zone. Michael Mooning eagerly awaits as the flags get ready to go. Green, 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 and Michael Mooning has a start place infringement. William Hendrickson's going to be in the lead after the beginning, and Michael Mooning is off. And there's a chicane in the middle of Big Red, and multiple drivers getting involved. William Hendrickson makes it through. Ruby Acosta makes it through as well. No, William Hendrickson makes it into the garage. That is race over. Kyle Lowe is your race leader on the end of the first corner. Behind him, Ruby Acosta in 2nd position. What is happening? Absolutely incredible. In fact, there's a Visceral Esports car. Zach Doran is in the lead of this race. Zach has slid on through. Behind that, Michael Mooning into the pit lane. That'll be a P-last finish. Oh my goodness, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. Certainly has been proven here tonight. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta going aggressive early as well. P3, and it's not going to be enough here. Or P4, excuse me. For Ruby right now, she is in 3rd. The timing charts have not updated. She is currently in 3rd. William Hendrickson in pit lane. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta is going for a P2. She's going to be under threat, though, from Ryan Haddock, though, down towards turn 12. The inside line will be favorable, but she's going for an offensive defense, trying to make moves onto the 99. That's going to keep her ahead of Ryan Haddock. Oh, but the inside move, Ryan back down for the lunge. He doesn't find the daylight. The door is not open. As we continue through the Sector 3, every single corner, something is happening here. Ruby Acosta driving like a madwoman. This is amazing. Ruby, keep it up. Kyle Lowe currently ahead right now, but Zach Doran leading the race. Ryan Haddock all over the back bumper, but has fallen off slightly. They have their teammate to deal with as well. Now, obviously, rule number 1 of racing is don't hit your teammates. Matthew Hinkle and Ryan Haddock, I'd be very curious to see Ruby Acosta goes for the move into the final corner and takes P2. Kyle Lowe is left sleeping at the wheel. My goodness, Ruby is on a mission in this race. This is amazing. She needs to dial it back a little bit as she is severely, I think she's overdriving the car at this point. Getting very excited behind the wheel. She sees the championship prospects in front of her eyes dangling like a carrot. Oh my goodness. We are going to have a quick little replay as well of that crash at the start. So let's take a look and dissect this a little bit more clearly. So as we go up to the first corner, keep an eye on that visceral car, Zach Doran. And oh, a little tap right there. So that's Michael Moaning getting tapped from the, oh no, that was, oh, that's gutting. So what, he tagged Michael Moaning, and both of them ended up on disaster there. Michael is going to be fuming at the wheel after that, but that has allowed Zach Doran an opportunity that he is not going to give up without a fight. Zach Doran, if he wins this race, I think he'll have the lead on the points, and he will be the one to qualify. We were saying it's a Michael Moaning story. Well, clearly, again, anything can happen in racing, and it normally does. Yes, I've said that once. Yes, I've said it twice. I assure you, I'll say that a few more times because it's so, so true. And if that didn't prove it to you tonight, I don't know what will. So we see Ryan Haddock lunging left and right onto Kyle Lowe. Kyle's going to have the inside, though, for the triple right-hander coming up. He'll have every advantage in the world at the apex, and he's going to continue to hold that. Or is he? Switch back. No, not going to happen. That is a dream and a half, and only just, except for the fact I say that, Ryan Haddock, is absolutely relentless in this overtaking pursuit. Every corner, he's looking left, he's looking right. This is one of the things that I mentioned earlier that I don't necessarily like to see. It doesn't work for me, but just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean that it doesn't work for everybody. Ryan, though, he's going to be feeling the pressure from his teammate now. Onto the first corner, down to the inside, and that's a send and a half from Hinkle. Haddock is going to have to hand that position back, or not hand it back, but have to hand it over to his teammate. And Ryan, he's off the ball, it seems, doesn't have the same pace that his teammate has, and can't find the pace of Zach Doran. That's what everyone needs right now. On that note, Ruby Elizabeth Acosta is keeping up with Zach, about 4.5 seconds off the mark, with 3.5 seconds to the car that we see in front of us. Well, not in front of the car, in front of the car in front of us, Kyle Lowe. And look at that. The gaps that have already formed at the top, those are almost, I don't want to say they're insurmountable because obviously we've seen that incidents can happen, but off of pace alone, it definitely seems like an insurmountable task. Zach Doran, superb. Kyle Lowe, you can see behind, he is doing his best defense. He's trying to do his best Sergio Perez impression, being the Minister of Defense at COTA. We'll see. Oh, as he goes a little deep, that's going to open up the next corner here to Matthew Hinkle, and I think Matthew is going to take that one with both hands. Hey, a little contact, and that is, unfortunately, Ryan Haddock having a bit of a miscalculation, as we can put it there, and that sends Kyle Lowe around. Kyle's not going to be too happy about that. More contact from behind as it's bumping and banging throughout the field, it seems, but Garnett Adams has found herself in a very solid position, currently running in P5. Fourth position as well, right in front of her. She is going to be chasing Ruby Acosta. She's not out of this one just yet. I think there's been a fire lit under the seat now of Garnett. Ryan Haddock, though, is the bottleneck right now, and she has to make it by. It can be sort of like pushing two polar ends of a magnet together, trying to get an overtake at COTA at times, but sometimes it just comes to you. You just have to be on the pace. You have to be waiting for the opportunities to arise, and that's exactly what Zach Doran and Ruby Elizabeth Acosta have done tonight. They have basically postured themselves into the perfect position. There's no way of putting it. They're in P1 and P2 respectively. Ruby in P1 in class with a very, very large gap to Garnett Adams, about 7+ seconds. That over the course of 22 minutes is not impossible, but difficult. Garnet will be on the pace too and chasing down Ryan Haddock. She needs to dispatch Ryan sooner rather than later for any opportunities in the long run. But also, again, if Ryan does have the pace, looking at the lap times alone though, Ryan Haddock a 209.3 compared to Garnet's 208.6. Garnet needs to get by. There's no question about that. Garnet has the pace. Ryan is being a bit of an issue right now for her. And Kyle Lowe also a little bit of an issue for Garnet as she will be under pressure within a little bit. You can see about 2 seconds behind is going to be Kyle. Emma Galliso as well going to be joining the conversation. But Ryan Haddock up there, you can see he's going for a move on his teammate, Matthew Hinkle. Does Ryan smell blood in the water? Very potentially. But is it going to be enough to act? You can see making that Ford Mustang as wide as humanly possible is what Hinkle is doing, and that's exactly what he needs to do. As these Ford Mustangs, they're a bit wily to drive at times, I should say. They have a lot of torque, they have very good brakes, but they weigh a lot as well. So getting these cars over-rotated is easy. If you pick up the throttle too early, it's so easy to spin yourself around and be facing the wrong way. Let's be honest, these cars have pretty much enough torque to pull down the Sistine Chapel. But, you know, we're in America. We can pull down the Coda Tower. How about that? More relevant. As we get back onto the mark, though, Ryan Haddock not finding the daylight required for the podium position. Hinkle holding that one off firmly for the time being, but there's still 20 minutes left. 21 minutes, in fact. Oof. As we have a nice voice crack. But Ryan, there is Michael Mooning, the recovery drive of a century. He makes a nice move onto the outside there of Jones. I don't think Jones was too interested in contending that battle. He just sort of lets that one go without an issue, says, "You go, boy," and try to make up those positions that he has lost. I don't want to say undeserved. I mean, I will say undeservedly. It was definitely an undeserved loss for Michael Mooning. He got punted. Just call it as it is. Kyle Lowe on to the back again of Garnet Adams. So Garnet now is ahead of Garnet has fallen off the back of Ryan and now is putting under pressure from Lowe. So needs to be hyper aware right now as objects in mirror tend to be closer than appear. And Kyle Lowe in the KLR Racing has no intent actually of overtaking. One thing you noticed right there, if you're a keen listener and a keen viewer, you can hear how early Kyle lifted off the throttle. Now, what he's doing there is he's saving not just his fuel, he's saving his tires long term. So he's trying to be going longer. Well, I mean, everybody has the same stint. It's a 30-minute race. There's no mandatory pit stops. But he is going to try to have better tire wear than Adams ahead for the long term. So right now, Adams is going to be wringing the neck of her tires. Kyle, he's taking it easy. He's having a nice, chill Saturday drive here tonight and just waiting for a mistake from Adams or waiting for that tire window to sort of kick in. And this is a good strategy, but it's not a strategy that's going to gain you more positions in the long term. You need to be making up positions quickly. This is not a race that you can wait. You can't afford to sit around and wait here tonight. It's not 6 hours. It's not a 12-hour. You got to go for it. And Kyle Lowe, he's got the hint, and he has got going, managing to make the position over. He does, yes, is over Adams, as Adams fights it back, doesn't want to let that position go, but unfortunately she has no choice but to let the likes of Lowe go by. And there's another free position for Michael Mooning as Santigelo ends up with a drive-through penalty himself. That'll have to be served within the next 3 laps, otherwise you will be receiving a significantly more hefty penalty. So definitely wants to serve that. It'll be a 25-second penalty, 29 seconds spent down pit lane, give or take, in a drive-through. Now, keep in mind, this might not be the only driver tonight to end up picking that up. So far, though, he is the only driver that I've noticed to have multiple invalid laps. Everyone's been on their best behavior. They had that race 1 as practice, plus a couple qualifying sessions. Track limits haven't been as much of a variable as I would have expected, to be completely honest. And also, I've just now noticed Ricardo Rivera. I'm not sure what happened to him, but Ricardo Rivera is no longer in this race. I've just picked that up. So I don't even know if he started, but here we go. Ryan Haddock to the inside of his teammate. The gap gets closed. Oh my goodness. That was like a wedge. Ryan Haddock, he was hyper where he backs out. He got on the brakes in time, but he thought he saw the gap, but his teammate says, no thank you. You are not coming in. Slams the door shut, locks the deadbolt, and then also calls the police. But we don't talk about that last one. Ryan Haddock, though, team-on-team battles. Nicely done there on the apex. As you can see, Ryan's going to get a much better launch than his teammate. Hinkle took a little bit too much sausage curb. It seems like it's a battle of mistakes between these two right now, but these two are too focused on each other. They need to be focused up the road. As you can see, what has happened to the gap between Ruby Acosta and Matthew Hinkle? Well, it's only expanded. It was 3 seconds at one point, then it was up to 4, then it was up to 7 or 6. Now it's up to 7. Ryan Haddock and Matthew Hinkle are getting left in the dust. Zach Doran, well, he is kind of checked out up in first place. We just checked on him briefly, but the Visceral Esports machine, confident as ever and looking to poise himself a victory in race 2 tonight. But Michael Moaning, definitely don't want to count him out yet. There's still 16 minutes left. Michael is about... okay, maybe we count him out. I don't want to count him out fully, but mathematically it's going to be a bit difficult now that I've actually started to do the math. He's roughly 50-something seconds off the lead, 40-something seconds off the lead. So he's going to be needing to make up about 2 seconds per lap on the leader, which he is not doing currently. So that is going to be the race win pretty much out of the question for Michael Moaning, despite the fact that he has the fastest lap and the previous race win. But what he's going to be looking to do is put himself, I think, into third position. Because if he puts himself into third, we would have a tie. If I'm not, I think. Again, I'm not fully sure on the points distribution on this, but I think that would put us into a tie if Michael does finish in third. And then, I don't know what would happen. That'd be great. A last lap shootout? I don't know. But either way, Ruby Elizabeth Acosta has set herself up perfectly to be the spot for the women's team. She has just driven amazingly. I don't think I don't have any adjectives to describe how good she's been driving because it's just been perfect. It's utter perfection. Minus, hopefully, she needs to keep it between the mayo and the mustard. She does pick up one warning on this lap, and hopefully that is enough to remind her not to pick up a drive-through penalty, because she is not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. The race is about halfway over. We've completed lap 7 here. And Ryan Haddock still feeling the pressure, and is getting a pretty much hole rubbed into his back bumper at this point from his teammate, and all of this squabbling has now added Kyle Lowe to the conversation. Kyle ended up getting that overtake onto Garnet Adams 2 laps ago. Well, he's now in the conversation for a podium potentially, as he has found himself on the back of 5th position with Matthew Hinkle right ahead, or right behind his teammate. So as it stands, 3rd position on the cards for the number 99. Kyle looking for some solid points as well. He had a good race 1 finish. Be curious to see where he ends up finishing overall if he does finish on the podium. I don't envy the people that have to do the math on this championship. This is good thing computers do it, because yeah, this is gonna be tight down to the wire if I have to guess when it comes down to the points distribution. Michael Moaning, he's still on the ball. You cannot count him out just yet. He's tearing this track up, fastest on circuit by a significant margin, over 4/10 quicker than the leader right now. And looking at Emma, he's about 3 seconds quicker than Emma on the previous lap. So Michael is going to be finding the 55 sooner rather than later, and then maybe even could contend for this battle on the podium. That would be the recovery drive of a century. Michael has the heart of a lion, and Kyle Lowe, oh my goodness, he thought about it. The move wasn't quite on. But Michael, I think a lot of people in his shoes would have backed out. They would have said, you know what, that's it, I can't take it. But no, Michael, he is a fighter. He's not given up to the very end, and that is, that's the type of people that we're looking for to be on the team for the USEF finals. The global esports games at the end of the day, we want someone that's not just going to give up. We don't want someone that says, well, just because I'm down on points, I don't want to give it, no. You need a champion. You need a champion mindset. And to be fair, not just Michael Moaning has displayed that. I mean, credit, he has displayed that and continues to, but Zach Doran, he has done that as well. Keep that in mind. He showed up here tonight, finished in P3 in race 1, finished in P3 for qualifying, and he's just sort of been there in the background, the kind of unspoken variable that we haven't talked about, and he may be the one that's going to be heading on towards the GEG at the end of the year. We'll certainly find out within the next 12 minutes. Oh my goodness, what a race. What 2 races that we've had. And it only continues to get better. This is incredible. Looking at the timing charts in the fastest laps right now, Zach Doran, last lap, 2:05.8. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, 2:06.1. Ryan Haddock, 2:07.2. With Matthew Hinkle, 2:07.6. Kyle Lowe, though, is the one variable in this equation that I just don't know the answer to at a 2:02.7. So he is quicker than both drivers by a couple milliseconds over Ryan, but he is quicker than both drivers ahead of him right now. But as we all know, it's one thing to catch, and it's certainly another thing to overtake. Kyle, he is going to have to find that one out. Well, he's already found that one out as he's been stuck behind Matthew here for a solid while. Not really finding the light of day that he would like. His car, though, I will say, has been as loyal as a Labrador thus far. He's managed to make up no position, surprising. He's actually where he started, but our biggest gainer tonight is tied 3 positions apiece. Ryan Haddock, Matthew Hinkle, and Garnet Adams, all 3 positions, and Ronnie Penhall, all 3 positions gained. Michael Moaning, I think the obvious biggest faller for tonight, down 7 positions currently. Sitting in 8th, 2 seconds off the back of Emma Galliso, and then 4 seconds off the back of Garnet Adams. This, though, is our race leader for the women's category, Ruby Acosta. And the Queen's design, someone put a crown on that car already. I mean, not yet, obviously. But after this, I think Ruby definitely, she deserves a crown on that livery because, my goodness, the Queen's design, she has shown why she has that name on her car. That is just amazing. Such a good drive. Opportunistic, managing to capitalize on the worst situations and, well, best situations for her, worst situations for others in Michael Moaning and Williams, of course. But Zach Doran, another one of those drivers that just sort of waited in the wing mirrors, placed himself in the right spot, got lucky on the first corner, and hey, at a certain level of talent, luck and skill are indistinguishable. Kyle Lowe actually got by Matthew Hinkle. We missed it. Kyle Lowe up a position into 4th. It was on stream. I was looking at my timing charts when that happened, of course, as we did catch Kyle Lowe getting that overtake done. Next up the road is going to be Ryan Haddock. Michael Moaning getting by Emma Galliso as well, now up in a 7th position. He is finding himself on the charge, 2:05.4 on the previous lap. He's still the quickest out on track. Kyle here, quicker than Ryan ahead. Ryan's on an invalid lap as well, so keep that in mind. Once you start getting down to those final track limits warnings, you have to drive at a less percentage. You have to be aware of where you're going off the track and play it safe. You can't do that anymore. If you have 3 warnings to your name and you pick up a 4th, that's race over. That's going to be a drive-through penalty, 29 seconds added to your race that you otherwise would not have had to have happen. And nobody wants that, so keep it between the mayo and the mustard. Easier said than done, especially at COTA. Kyle here, he's done a good job so far, and maybe we'll be taking advantage of Ryan in his track limits excursions as well, as Ryan potentially looking at a drive-through penalty. We'll see. Obviously, it is up in the air right now. There's no way of telling how many warnings they have, unfortunately. One day, we'll be able to tell that, one day, but not today. Michael Moaning has caught the back of Garnet Adams as well, and they'll be making that overtake sooner rather than later. Michael is on for a what looks to be maybe 4 tonight. I feel like we can maybe get to Kyle, but Michael has, the progress is going to start slowing down. Obviously, as you go up the field more, the drivers get quicker and quicker, and the overtakes become more and more difficult. A 2:06.5 for Michael Moaning on the last lap is not what he wants, but it's unfortunately what he had to deal with in that he was dealing with other cars. There is Garnet Adams. Also, going to be feeling the pressure soon herself. That's Emma Galisso behind. In case anyone is curious, if you guys did not catch it over on the Init Twitch channel, Emma was on stream for an interview just the other day. Highly recommend checking it out. Got to watch the whole thing there. Very confident about her driving. She's also very humble. She's a very humble driver, it seems. Started sim racing back in 2021 as a complete and utter novice, but since then has competed in the likes of the Ferrari Challenge Series as well as many others. And tonight, trying to compete for the United States Esports Federation. It's a long shot right now for Emma, but to be fair, again, credit where credit is due. She's put the heart in, she's put the work in, and this is another driver that I expect to see around for a very long time in the number 55 here. And she is catching Adams as well. So this fight going to be potentially on. We have about 4 more laps left, presumably, till we get to the end of this one. Michael Moaning with a 5-second penalty. Interesting. So getting involved with that collision, I'd be curious if that's from the lap 1 penalty, or if that was from a different incident. I wonder what that is. So we do have live stewarding here tonight, and I'd love it. I don't know if I can find that out, but I'd love to know what that 5-second penalty is for. It is apparently, so he has tried to do a push-to-pass maneuver, so doing a little bit of bump drafting, as you would call it in NASCAR. That's a big no-no in this game, and in these series in particular. ACC, you don't want to be doing that. That's how you crash other people, so that's definitely a deserved 5-second penalty to be handed the way of Michael, and as much as I hate to say it, that's pretty much the nail in the coffin at this point. I don't think... mathematically, it's going to be difficult for Michael to make up the points required to get into the to be the one to qualify, but it'll be close. Zach Doran, I think, will be taking that one, but again, this is commentator math, so don't trust it. That is a move to get by, and it seems, oh my goodness, actually not just yet, as a bit of a misconversation there, as Matthew is going to allow Moaning by eventually, or no, is that a... That is a back marker, I'm pretty sure, is it not? Oh no, we're looking at Patterson, my apologies. Same liveries, different machines. You'd love to see that when we transfer cars. Ronnie Pendhall here on the start-finish straight, under pressure from is that Harrison? It is Harrison on the outside. That is not the ideal line for Ronnie. Somehow doesn't allow him to be overtaken. I'll be completely honest. You kind of want to be on the racing line into the entrance of that corner, but Ronnie, he clearly knows a little better than me. That is a bit of a warning. I almost guarantee behind Harrison. Cross-track limits right there. That will be one more added onto his total. That's a speed token, as we often like to call it in the ACC side of things. Is just a nickname given to an off-track cut, because you can use them strategically. You can gain time strategically with it, though we obviously do not advise you gaining positions with that, because that will be an illegal overtake. So using the rules to his advantage is going to be Harrison, but it's not enough to make the overtake onto Ronnie just yet. Penhall here on the defense, parks it in the center of the track again, and being a real nuisance for the number 3 right now. Diving to the inside, he covers that off immediately. You can see you don't want to get over to the marbles, because you do need to veer back towards the racing line eventually. Regardless, it's going to be the inside line, at least a look for Harrison. Is he going to commit? He is going to commit. No, he doesn't. It was a half-hearted commit. But that's enough to force a mistake, and that is Ronnie Pendhall getting caught looking. You can't drive in your rearview mirrors, can you? And Ronnie, well, he was trying to do exactly that. Harrison forces the mistake onto Ronnie Pendhall. And there is Ronnie immediately trying to get back and diving to the inside of the horseshoe. That is an optimistic look that is rarely going to work. We've seen it, though, earlier in the race. It certainly can happen, but it doesn't mean that it will. Through the through the final corner complex now, and into the final corner, rounding onto the start-finish straight one more time. They got 2 more laps ahead of them here tonight. Ronnie Pendhall, all sorts of out of shape, milking a cow on the exit there, unfortunately, and that puts him off into the marbles, and that'll be a lot of time lost for unfortunately there for Ronnie. Harrison should walk away as a result. This, though, is our race leader Every question that's been asked of him has been emphatically answered with an "I want to be the champion." And Zach Doran, well, he's shown that tonight. Michael Mooning, gonna be gutted. Those two have raced each other before. That's the one thing as well. There's both of our leaders on screen simultaneously. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta currently running in second position, first in class. Zach Doran first overall. Michael Mooning, though, and Zach, these are two drivers that have history. They go back. They have a lot of races together in multiple leagues, so they are definitely going to be talking after this one. And no love lost. It's not like they made contact with each other, but at the end of the day, this is something that every single one of these drivers wants, but only one driver can have. And it's looking like Zach Doran right now, but again, we'll see after all the maths are said and done. Michael Mooning has found the back of Matthew Hinkle. Let's see. Oh no! And it's ended in tears, it seems. Michael has spun around, and if the nail in the coffin wasn't already sunk, somebody has gotten the nail gun out and made sure of it. That is gonna be definitely a hindrance for Mooning. There's also a battle for P2 right now in class for the women's category. Garnet Adams and Emma Galliso having a little scrap for P7 overall. The number 12, oh no! Oh, bumping and banging, and it seems that Emma there does yield, so she feels that she was responsible for that one, and Garnet does end up get going. Respect from both of the drivers there, to be fair. Got to give credit where credit's due to Emma. She said, you know what, I judge myself at fault for that. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to give that position back. Very respectful driving from Emma. Unfortunate that the incident happened in the first place, but that's racing. Michael Mooning here, onto the back of Hinkle. I'm not sure Hinkle's going to be able to defend this. Mooning is a man on a mission, and has made some aggressive moves thus far. He knows no bump drafting, so he's definitely being a little more aware of that this time around. Late move to the outside. Send and a half. Lick the stamp and send it, says Michael Mooning. But unfortunately, that's going to be Matthew Hinkle licking the back bumper of Michael Mooning. Not the way they wanted that conversation to end, as they negotiate for the same piece of real estate. Unfortunately, neither of them win. Outbid by the elements. Coda giveth and it taketh away. Tonight, it's giving to Zach Doran. Zach now having to deal with some back markers. That's Preston Patterson ahead of him right now. Shouldn't be much of an issue. Preston gets out of the way. Still keeps his front nose in a very dicey position, to be completely honest. But hey, he kept it under control. And now, this is the parade lap for Zach Doran. He can soak it in right now. The nerves are probably higher than ever. I would imagine this man is shaking in his boots right now. But either way, he's looking to crown himself the title tonight. Zach Doran, the Visceral Esports team. Pranav Kalevala being the team principal for the Visceral team, so he'll be happy for that one as well. It's a long history at Visceral Esports, and they're looking to make a little bit more. This is incredible. Zach Doran. Ooh, that's Patterson getting a little out of shape. Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain. Keep your eyes here on the man himself, Zach Doran. The talk of the town, really. And again, he put himself in the perfect position. Started in P3. It didn't matter. Maybe he was a little bit nervous coming into this race. The stars aligned. Or rather, the stars collided. And everything worked out for him. Zach Doran, he was the star of the show tonight, at least for race 2. Shining brightly like a diamond, Zach Doran into the final sector now, through the triple apex horseshoe. Just a few more corners to negotiate before we can say, Zach Doran, you are a USEF.GG member. Zach, through the final corner. Through the penultimate corner, now on to the final corner, the number 15 Visceral Esports car takes to the line. It's a flourish celebration. Zach Doran takes your win for the male category. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta coming home just 6 seconds behind, takes home first position for the women's category and second place overall. What an effort from Acosta out there tonight. And she hasn't just earned her spot for the USEF GEG, she has blazed the door open. My goodness, setting the bar extremely high. Ruby Acosta, congratulations. Ryan Haddock, a hard-fought P3. Kyle Lowe takes home fourth. Michael Moaning, fifth position at the line. Is it going to remain fifth? More than likely it is. And Garnet Adams coming home in second. Emma Galliso will be coming home in third in class. But my goodness, what an electric championship. My heart's racing, chat. My heart's racing after that one. That was a heck of a drive from Zach Doran. We're going to be getting some interviews here relatively shortly from our leaders as well. But my goodness, I don't even know how to dissect that race right now. Obviously, we start with the lap one incident. I think that's the elephant in the room that needs addressing, as obviously William Hendrickson in too deep. His best sum 41 impression, it was not good enough. He ends up taking out Michael Moaning and dethroning him off the top. Michael, with the recovery drive of a century, it wasn't enough. He ended up with a 5-second penalty for bump drafting. It was a hard-fought effort all the way to the very end, but it just wasn't enough at the very end of the day. A great effort, though, all the way around. Of course, looking over to the women's category, Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. My goodness. Star of the show. That was an amazing barnstorming performance from her out there tonight. P2 finish overall. And just dominating the rest of the field, making it look easy out there. I mean, I got to, again, credit to Emma and Garnet for being the competitors that they were and having their heart in it. But Ruby, she came into this with blistering confidence, and I see why. She has put her money where her mouth is, to be completely honest, and managed to qualify. She's the first female to qualify for the USEF.GG, the GEG at the end of the year, 2024. Location to be determined. But of course, my goodness, we are going to be wrangling up them soon enough before we have the interviews with them. But of course, just dissecting that coda, it's a track that can give and it's a track that can take away. It's a track that you can defend on too. And Zach, he did a great job of defending and he did a great job of taking it away. We got to see a little bit of everything. So if you were maybe new to racing and this is something that had maybe caught your eye, first off, thank you for tuning in for all of this. Absolutely amazing racing that we've had and setting the bar extremely high to come for the future. So big thank you to everyone for tuning in, making history here tonight for USEF.GG as well as in it. But as we wait here, I think we will be wrangling these drivers up relatively soon. They're getting their celebrations out, as I would predict, as they, they've earned it. They've earned it at this point. So credit where credit's due. We can wait a minute for them to end up celebrating, calming down a little bit, and maybe, I don't know, reconvening their head, as I would imagine they have just been through the ringer, some of them. But we'll find out soon enough. Either way, Emma Galliso, hard-fought effort. Garnet Adams also. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, though, talk of the town. Again, moving on to the male category, Zach Doran, Ryan Haddock. Another driver that I think that needs a mention is Ryan Haddock. Certainly put a good effort in, but wasn't enough at the end of the day. But as it sounds, I think we have our race winner here for the female category. No, excuse me. Hold on. Let me start this over. We have our USEF.GG, the United States Esports Federation qualifier for the female category, Ruby Elizabeth Acosta. How does it feel? Oh, do we got a copy?
Oh yeah, I got you. Sorry. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel. I feel really overwhelmed, and I feel and I really had to push. I didn't want to just settle for a win in the women's category. I wanted to do the best that I could, and I guess I achieved my goal, and I got second in this second race. First race, I was really nervous, but I'm still really nervous right now. I don't know what's gonna happen, but Oh
Ruby, soak it in. Enjoy it here for a moment. This is incredible. You're making history. And my goodness, you mentioned you didn't want to just win by getting the win and taking the in category. No, you wanted to win in style. And you did that. And you absolutely smashed it. My goodness. How was the first corner? Why don't you talk us through your thought process on the first corner in race 2? Because that's where everything happened, and I'm assuming that's where the daylight opened up in your eyes.
Yeah, I was just trying to be as careful as I could. I was thinking big picture, and then I saw just a huge mess in front of me, and I don't know. I had to just lock in and I had to just really focus my eyes forward and just see through the carnage, and I was clear, and I couldn't believe it, but I just still needed to keep my head down, and then I got past I think it was low, I think, and I just decided to just I found another gear. I didn't know I had that pace in me today. Honestly, I did not have time because I was recovering from illness this week, so this is like almost a miracle I did this well.
That is amazing, Ruby. And again, absolute domination. I will say, like I said, even I was trying to be like, Ruby, dial it back a little bit here. You're overdriving. Like, come on, I want to see you win. But you clearly had other intentions in mind, and you just wanted to absolutely light the doors open and set the bar at a standard in which nobody else could answer. And you did that tonight, Ruby. Congratulations. My goodness. Again, any final any big moments that stuck out to you in this race, either race 1 or race 2?
I don't know, but I have to say a big thank you to Anor Rose for supporting me through my journey in sim racing, and just starting from scratch and getting here. This has been the biggest year of my life, not just in my sim racing career, but in my life, and this is just the cherry on top. So thank you to her. She's watching, and thank you to all my viewers. Thank you to thank you to my sport. Oh my god, sorry, I can't believe it.
No, let it out. Let it out. Honestly, it's a well-deserved effort, and as you can see, the emotions run high here. And as you should, you're qualified for the United States Federation team. I mean, just think about that for a second. It's amazing. Congratulations, Ruby. I'll let you sink that in. If there's anything else that you have to add before we go, of course, please do.
Like again, thank you to Anor Rose. Thank you to Queen's Design for supporting me throughout my whole career. Thank you. Shout out to my Twitch followers. Shout out to everybody, and I guess I'm on my journey to being the fastest VTuber in the world.
There we go.
Oh,
Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, everybody. Your newest USAF national qualifier. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit of a hectic start, and I kind of took the open spot, but yeah, a shame for Michael. He has the pace. It's racing, but I feel really bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, I was mentioning that in the broadcast where, of course, you two, you have some history between each other. You guys go back a long ways, and I don't mean negative history for anyone watching. These two have raced each other in plenty of championships that I've commentated on. So it's a pleasure to see you guys out there. And Zach, I love to see that you have qualified for this, but you're right. It's a little bit of a heart and mouth kind of moment where you end up beating your friend like that in a way that it was. But you earned it, Zach. That's the one thing you got to keep in mind is you earned that. You were in the right place at the right time, and you were the one to get crowned at the end of the day. So congratulations to you for that.
Thank you. I kind of in the first race, I was able to get up on the inside into second place. So whenever I saw him cut across again in the second race, I forget who the P2 guy was. I kind of was like in a spot where I didn't know what to do at that point, and it somehow just worked out so perfectly.
But yeah, you placed the car in the right spot to thread the needle. And at the end of the day, you took the lead, then you stormed into the lead by a mile by the end of that one, unanswered completely. Why don't you tell us about the last lap? I'm curious, what were your emotions on that last lap?
A bit mixed. I mean, as you can tell, it's hard to be like just straight up, you would rather obviously just win on pure pace, but I was just trying to keep it clean, trying to stay a bit calm. Especially on a track like this where track limits, if your brain shuts off for a millisecond, you're getting a warning because it's very unforgiving. So just trying to keep it clean, keep the emotions under wraps, and then on the last corner, I let out a yell. That's for sure.
A well-deserved yell. Was Prawn in the chat with you? Does Prawn know yet, or has he yet to?
I'm assuming Pran knows. Pran is the team manager for Visceral.
Yeah, and he is going to be quite happy, if I had to guess right now, that his fellow driver, I should say, not brand, but his driver has qualified for the U.S. team, the Nationals for the United States Esports Federation for the Global Esports Games in 2024. How does that sound to you right now, Zach? When I say that, does that make any emotions pop up in your mind?
It's wild. It doesn't feel real, honestly. So it's hard to put into an emotion if you don't even know, like, yeah, it sounds wild.
No, absolutely, Zach. Congratulations, man. I'll let you soak this one in, as again, I'm sure it's still taking time to process. Like I say, this is it's a new thing, and you have done it. You've crowned yourself the victor tonight. We just saw a little bit of points breakdown, and you managed to finish ahead by not too much, but it was enough at the end of the day. And again, Michael Mooning there, a gutting result from. Is there any words that you have for your fellow competitor? That again, I know your fellow friend out there on track.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him. I will say I was hoping Ruby, I was just praying the entire time, don't get a drive-through, because I knew if she did, I think Moaning had to finish third if I was doing the math. So I was like, please just keep it clean, because she was kind of my only hope. But yeah, he ended up, I guess, just getting stuck in the back. But yeah, no, like I said, I feel so bad for him, but he will get plenty more. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah, of course. And he's got one coming for him in the long run, and who knows, maybe he'll end up being your teammate at one point in time on this team. But Zach, before we end up closing the stream out here tonight, is there anything that you would like to end on? Any closing thoughts?
No, I just want to thank my team Visceral for helping me figure out this car. It is a tricky beast. And yeah, we did a lot of work last night or I guess 2 nights ago, on just getting me dialed in with the car and making me feel as confident as possible.
Well, it seems that it worked out wonders for you, and everyone in your family, as well as all of your team members, are going to be so proud, Zach. Congratulations and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
As it stands, I think we are going to bring up these points real quick and dissect them. So as we said, Zach Doran, 3 points ahead of Michael Mooning. My goodness, what a nail-biting finish. Was that 5-second penalty the difference maker? I don't know if it was or wasn't, but it was close nonetheless. Ruby Elizabeth Acosta, P1 in class, P3 overall. Stonking effort. Nothing else to say, just an incredible effort. You could tell the emotions with Ruby there. That made me smile. You could tell that she was just ecstatic. It meant so much to her to be a part now of the Nationals team. So incredible for her. I'm so happy for her again. And good luck to, of course, everybody in those endeavors, both of the teams heading down towards the undisclosed location for 2024. It's going to be fun. Oh my goodness. But as it stands, I think we are going to run a couple quick ads before we head on out. And as it stands, I just want to say a big thank you to absolutely everybody for tuning in, everyone behind the scenes as well. Big thank you to Ainsley, Steffi, Steve Proudly on production, and all of the drivers, of course, for participating in this wonderful, wonderful event. I've been your host, Mike Noss. I hope everyone has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.